Welcome, everybody, to Wire2Wire Sports Podcast, show 126. I'm your handsome host, Gene Walzak, the NFL genius. Feeling great tonight, boys. To my upper left corner, I got Kent State's own, Cleveland's own, College, Cottrell.
What's going on, guys?
What's popping, baby? How you feeling?
Hey, feeling good, you know. You know what happened this weekend? I know we're about to get into it now, but yeah, I'm excited.
You say you know what happened this weekend, dork. In the upper right corner, I got Scholastic Shally, Uncle Shally. It's college basketball season, so it's got to be Scholastic Shally. How you feeling tonight, Bill Shallcross?
Good, baby. It's going to be a good show. I'm excited.
It'll be a phenomenal show. I got a parlay going right now, so I'm going to be checking on it all show. I'm kidding. Somebody give me updates on UNC and Villanova. That's all I need. I need those two teams to win, and then Arizona State while I'm sleeping because I ain't staying up till 11:30 to watch that shit. But let's go. I'm ready to rock and roll. We got a ton to get into this week, but the first thing we got to talk about is UFC. John Bones Jones. Dominance. Before we get into that, though, talk about the rest of the card. I think everything happened on that card that we expected, except
like the biggest upset like ever almost.
I mean, listen, Bill, I feel like if there's ever going to be a huge fight and you don't think the other person has a chance to win, just say what you said on the podcast. It's like clipping your magic slippers together and being like, I think they're just paying someone a lot of money to get in a ring and get beat by Amanda Nunes. I think they're just paying someone a lot of money to get beat up by Valentino Shevchenko. It's worked twice. It's magic.
It's 2 for 2.
It's amazing. A lot of you. Your boy Bo Nickel, I know Cottrell's been on top of him, but he's a Penn State guy, so technically he's my boy, right? Like my boy Bo Nickel. But Bo Nickel lived up to the hype after that weird spinning kick to start the fight where he fell. Other than that, he was completely dominant as expected. How did you guys think the overall card was?
I mean, I thought it was a good card. I mean, you know, if you tuned in, I mean, I'm sure a ton of people lost money on Valentina. But I mean, it's also kind of cool when you see those things live as well. You know, when you see the huge upsets. You know, it has a certain novelty to it per se. You know, the main event was John Jones, and he didn't disappoint. He came back, and everybody know how he's going to be at heavier weight, almost 3 years off, blah, 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 blah. And he looked like focused, committed John Jones, and that's a scary John Jones for anybody in the UFC. You know, Cottrell said it right away when it happened. He said GOAT and everything else, and I don't have an argument against it. I don't.
I do. I have an argument against it. I'll give it to you shortly.
But
I'm asking how you thought the overall card was.
I thought the overall card was good. I mean, it wasn't the best card ever, but I mean, it was solid. It was entertaining. The Bo Nickel, again, you know, I was anxious to see him, and you know, Cottrell has been talking about him for a while. He's a somewhat local guy for me and Gene, and he looked good. I mean, he looked, you know, still a lot of room for improvement, but he looked solid. He looked dangerous, and you know, I watched his post-fight press conference as well. Really, really humble, just down to earth guy. I mean, that's you know, he said he just wanted to go home and you know, hang out with his family, eat some food, and go back to the gym on Monday. Not a lot of trash talk, not a lot of anything else. He's just a really humble, hardworking guy, and that's a lot of work ethic that was, I'm sure, instilled at him at Penn State by Cale Sanderson. He's, you know, that's a name to watch for the next year and a half, 2 years. But overall, you know, overall, I thought it was a good card, B card. I mean, not the best we've ever seen by far, but definitely nowhere near the worst. So, I mean, for what you want to tune in for, I guess you got your money's worth.
I think they need to slow down on the Bo Nickel could beat Izzy tomorrow talk. That's got to slow down.
I wouldn't argue that. I haven't heard too much of that. I mean, obviously you have, but Yeah, I don't think we're there yet. I mean,
I think he
Izzy's
needs 3 to 4 more ramp up fights before he fights for a title.
wouldn't argue that either.
Okay. Cottrell, what were your thoughts on the overall card before we get into the choke herd round the world?
So the overall card for me, I thought was great. You had a lot of finishes, especially on the main card. You had a lot of finishes, and you had fights that were close. Like I know, like Jeff Neal and Rachmanov, they had a banger fight that ultimately got stopped. But that was a great card. Rachmanov is a name that people are 100% going to know now, and he's going to be in the thick of it in his weight class. And, of course, we saw what happened with Shevchenko. We saw what happened with Gane in the main events. But you talked about Bo Nickel. I think Bo Nickel is in a weird situation right now. Obviously, he's more up and coming and all like that. But the UFC has kind of played these rising stars two different ways somewhat recently. You kind of had it with Darren Till, where they strapped the rocket to his back and just sent him right to the top. And you kind of see how he just fizzled out. Like, he got 3-4 straight losses, and now he's ultimately out of the UFC. Then they've done it the other way with O'Malley, where they were kind of slow playing it. And, at a point we were like, hey, we want to see O'Malley fight a top 5, top 10, just a ranked guy. And it seemed like it took forever. Obviously he's there now, but they kind of slow played it and waited it out to see, where he ranked as far as the division goes. So I think Bo Nickel's probably going to be somewhere in the middle of that, where, I could see him 3 or 4 fights down the line, maybe not fighting for a title, but I could see him getting a top guy like a Robert Whitaker or a Paulo Costa or, Khamzat Chimaev. So I think obviously Izzy and Pereira, they have to settle all that in that division, because I'm sure if Izzy wins, and Pereira would want his rematch, and it would be deserved, I would say. So I think that division has a lot going for it right now, but I think Bo Nickel, I'm with you. Pump the brakes just a little bit. Don't strap a rocket to him and take him to the top.
I think a Bo Nickel versus Khamzat Chimaev fight next year would be fun. He ain't ready for that smoke right now, though. Khamzat would destroy him.
No, yeah. I mean, he's still not even I understand that he's an MMA fighter, but he's really just
a wrestler.
A wrestler. He's really just a wrestler
He's
figuring
so raw.
out how to strike. Exactly.
He's so raw. And like, you could see the talent will be there. But like right now, I think the wrestling's there, obviously. He's obviously an elite level wrestler. But as far as like, you can't start a fight like he did versus an elite fighter and get away with that and not take some damage. Like, it's just a tough way to start a fight.
He's a young, very young, raw Matt Hughes. That's what he is. He's going to have elite wrestling. He's going to have elite grappling. His ground and pound is going to be great. His jiu-jitsu will come along. He's got to learn the stand-up game, and if he can, then he'll be very, very successful. But that's where he is right now. I mean, and we don't know how that turned out. So again, I think he's a very, very humble kid with a lot of goals and a great work ethic. And if he continues to get good coaching, and if I'm him, I wouldn't want to be rushed. Because like Cottrell said, you get the Darren Till effect. He just got released. I mean, and he was a guy we've talked about on the show at the beginning about being a legit title guy for the upcoming years, and he's not even with the damn company anymore. So
yeah.
There's definitely steps to this. I mean, there's beating guys that you should, and beating guys that are maybe a couple steps above you, and then there is that jump. We talk about it all the time with all the different weight classes. There are elite fighters in all those weight classes, and he's not ready to fight one of them right now.
So let's get into the first choke herd around the world. And new Valentina Shevchenko was doing what she does, winning the fight, 3-0 on most scorecards, gave up the bag. It was a very, and listen, they said it was practiced. They said that the entire thing that she worked on that her entire camp. Valentina goes down. I think there will be an immediate rematch. I think that Valentina will absolutely dominate the second fight around. I feel like that some of these great fighters kind of need that slip. George St. Pierre had it. Amanda Nunes had it. a lot of these elite fighters have had it. But man, how about it? How about it, Cottrell? Tell me about your girl.
Yeah, so I mean, I think you said it best. Personally, I had it 2-1 for Valentina. I didn't think it was quite 3-0. But I mean, Valentina really didn't necessarily make any mistakes that fight outside of that one. Like, of course, like Alexa Grasso was doing her thing, so like I want to give all the credit to her, but Valentina trying to throw that spinning kick is really ultimately what cost her that fight. You know, obviously Alexa got her back, choked her out. So I mean, I think that's something that's very avoidable. So I 100% agree with you. I think Valentina held the belt long enough where she should be able to claim her automatic rematch clause, and I think the next fight won't be necessarily close. I think, like you said, this will put a chip on her shoulder, and I think she was focused for this fight. She just made a monumental mistake. But I think we won't see that kind of mistake in the next fight. But like I said, you got to give Alexa Grasso all the credit in the world, especially with her game plan. Like, she wasn't afraid of Valentina. She was trying to take the fight to her. Like, obviously Valentina is super skilled, but you know, I thought Alexa Grasso was doing great even before that choke happened. For me, it was very different than, let's say, like the Kamaru and Leon fight where he was down and this was just like last ditch effort, or even Izzy and Alex where it was 5th round. Izzy was clearly up on the scorecards. Like, I think Valentina was up at this point, but going into that, even if she hadn't finished that choke, even if she hadn't gone into that choke, I think it would have been 2-2 going into the 5th.
I don't think so.
I mean, the judges' scorecards kind of showed you that as well.
All three cards had Valentina up 2-1. They had Grasso winning the first, and then Valentina winning the second and third.
Yeah,
you know,
and
again,
I think she would have won the 4th.
Yeah, I mean,
Grasso.
I think it depends on what happens going, you know, from that point forward in the round. But you know, you got to tip your cap to her. You know, she didn't prepare to go in there and lose, and you know, they did certain things in camp, and you know, they said they recognized certain things in watching Valentina's fights, and it's just one of those things where she did the exact thing that they prepared for, and she fell into it. You know,
wow, they all gave her the first.
yeah,
I didn't realize.
Yeah, they all gave her the first.
I didn't give her the first.
I thought the first was close. I could see it either way. But I think Gene
said something about it. I was just like, wait, what? And I wanted to see what round they all gave her. I thought maybe like one or two judges would be 3-0, and then maybe one judge would be 2-1. But I mean, Alexa definitely landed. She definitely landed punches, but Valentina had 4 takedowns. She had control for over 5 minutes of a 15-minute fight so far. Because it was in the 4th round. I don't know. I just thought that Valentina was dominating like she normally does, and she went for something she shouldn't have, and she got caught. And it is what it is. But I think that ends the Valentina for women's GOAT. Like, she would have to do like 6 to 7 title defenses to be in the Amanda Nunes category again. You have 2 L's to Amanda, and then you have this other loss. Like, I just don't think that. I don't think she sniffs the female GOAT conversation for a long time.
I think it depends on.
No, hold on. Can I ask you a question? Because that statement's not bold. That statement's correct. But can I ask you a question? It's not bold at all.
6 to 7.
0-2 versus Amanda Nunes, and she just
I understand that was like. I understand that, but they're both. I would assume both of them are going to be fighting for longer period of time, and I'm sure we're going to see them fight again. Like,
I hope so.
I think if we see them fight again, that gap
took care of business.
Agreed, but we also maybe we would have saw her. This card had Amanda took care of business against Juliana Pena. So I mean, there's ultimately things that go into it.
Valentina really didn't take care of business. She won a split decision on her last fight too. Cottrell, she falling off?
I mean, I don't think that you said you had her up 3-0, so it's not like she just went out with a lackluster performance. I think she made a mistake and got caught. I'm just saying that I think if she goes out and if there's a fight with her and Amanda Nunes again, I don't think she has to defend her belt 6 times to do it. Like, that was my only argument. That's why I said I think that's bold. Like, that's a lot. I think if she fights Amanda one time and depending on how she looks in that fight, then there's a conversation that can be had again. And this is with us obviously assuming that she gets her belt back, because this doesn't happen if Valentina doesn't get her belt back. So I think she could fight Amanda again in maybe 2 title defenses, and we're talking about it as long as she beats Amanda Nunes.
You know what the problem is with that though? The loss to Alexa. I don't. I know. I think you know. I hope you know, but I don't know if the listeners know who Alexa Grasso is. And I just want to be real when I say this. She shouldn't have been in this title fight to begin with. She won the championship. I'm happy for her, but we're talking about. I mean, she probably lost the Macy Barber fight. You go back to Alexa Grasso's career and find me a dominant stamped performance that she's had in the last 5 years. Outside of, I'm not, Joanne Wood was 197 years old when they fought. I get it. That's, they gave her a name to fight. But like she's not been dominant at all. She gets stoppages never. Submission versus Valentina. Decision. Submission versus Joanne Wood. Decision. Lost by submission to Tatiana Suarez, who could have beat Shevchenko. Split decision win. Decision. It's been 2014 since she stopped somebody. So in my personal opinion, I think Showie was right when he said they're serving up a platter to Valentina Shevchenko, and Shevchenko lost the fight. And
I don't think it's necessarily just serving up a platter though. I mean, Valentina has cleared out a lot of that division. Like who do you want to see her fight again? And I understand you got some names coming up. You got some names coming up, but get fresh fish at this point.
Okay. I get it.
I think it falls into a pattern that we've seen the last year and a half. I mean, like if you go back the last 12 months even and told me, in the next 12 months that Shevchenko is going to lose, Nunes is going to lose, Usman's going to lose, Izzy's going to lose, I would have told you you're nuts. And again, it's I think it's hard not to get complacent when you continue to beat guys and clean out your division. Like both you guys said too, I don't think she was complacent Saturday night. She was winning the fight. I mean, like you said, that you had her 3-0. Me and Cottrell had a 2-1, but it was close. It wasn't a bad performance. Like I thought
if she gets out of the fourth round, it's 3-1 on my scorecard and 2-2 on Cottrell's. And Cottrell's the biggest Valentina fan this side of the Mississippi.
No, I agree with that. But if also going into the fifth, I think everybody on the show is betting that Valentina wins that fight. So it's, again, fighters get caught. It's a fight. I mean, and that's what happens. It's, again, it wasn't a miracle overhand right. It was her doing something that she fell into a position that they had looked at on tape randomly and knew they could exploit. If that doesn't happen, then she probably loses the fight. So, but again, I think it's great when goats get, great fighters get chips back on their shoulders. It makes them hungry again.
It's an Amanda thing and not a Ronda thing. I just hope
it's not a Ronda thing.
Well, you say that, but this is 2 fights in a row. She's fought superior competition, and she could have lost in a split decision her last fight, and she lost this one. I'm asking, is she falling off? But
Talia is actually like a great, like she has great BJJ. Like let's not act like that wasn't the best ground game that Valentina had gone against. Yeah. Like I understand that. I'm not saying Talia's a great fighter or anything like that, but there was one thing that she was good at, and it happened to be something that Valentina had problems with. Like Carla Esparza's not a great fighter, but we know she's gonna wrestle and she gave Rose problems. Exactly. So I think 100% matchups makes fights, and this is no excuse for Valentina, but I think in this fight she got caught. In that fight against Talia, she went up with somebody that had a great one thing and gave her problems. I just think
don't know how she beats Amanda Nunes now. Like, I watched their fights back then, and Amanda was nowhere near the big, strong fighter that she is today. And if they fought today, especially at 135, because Amanda ain't going down to 125, and they can't catch at 130, Amanda's already 145 champion. They got to fight at 135. And if Valentina goes up to 135, that girl might get murdered.
I think the only way they fight is at 130. I don't think.
No way Amanda gets to
my
130.
point. Well, she gets down to 135. I mean, it's 5 pounds. It's a lot, but at the same time, I agree with you. If Valentina goes up to 135, Nunez is going to walk in that cage anywhere between 143, 148 after weigh-ins.
She walks into 150.
Yeah, she'll get killed. So I mean, that's the only way I see it.
Okay. Well, let's talk about the main event. The main event that didn't last very long. Ciryl Gane looked like he was there for a payday. And listen, let me just be clear. John Jones is incredible. All right, so let me ask you guys a question real quick. Who's the greatest baseball player of all time?
Willie Mays.
Willie Mays? How about you? Who do you think?
Barry
You know
Bonds.
where I'm going, but don't kill it for the listeners. Who's the greatest baseball player of all time?
I mean, I guess I would guess Willie.
Why is it not Barry Bonds?
I know what you're getting at, and I could care less about that. I'll still take Willie.
Barry Bonds, for a 5-year stretch, was the greatest hitter the world will ever see. Ever. He was unreal. He was just ridiculous. But we all knew he did steroids, right? We all knew it. And with John Jones, I just feel like my hate derives for him from I know he's a cheater. I know he hit his fiance. I know he's a shitty human being. I can't stand him. So I will do anything I can to discredit that man. But Cottrell, my question I want to ask you is, because the Ciryl Gane fight isn't really even worth talking about. It was dominant destruction. I thought Ciryl Gane showed up looking for a payday. He got scared when he got in that clinch. I don't even think the choke was in that hard. And he go, "Oh, I'm done."
It wasn't.
I'm done.
It wasn't. It was not in at all. I was watching it. I was like, it's not even under the chin. Like, he's not in real trouble. And then I saw the tap and I was like, oh, okay.
So, but my question I want to ask you is this. You're a Cleveland guy. You've notably been a Stipe guy. You're a John Jones guy. John Jones is going to kill him, bro. He's going to kill him. He's going to murder him. And by the way, Francis Ngannou, I don't think he has much of a chance versus John at heavyweight either. That man's walking around at 250 now. And he looks like he filled out.
Yeah, he definitely looks like seeing him. I'm not going to say he looks I'm not going to say he looked like big, but I don't even think he even said he didn't try to get lean. Like, so I can only imagine like him going into his next camp, like shredding some of that and still being the same weight and adding on more muscle. It's gonna be nuts.
I mean, listen. But you look at he's got the genetics. Look at his brothers. Chandler Jones is a freak. I mean, it's not going to take much. I mean, you say he's probably going to add a little bit more muscle, honestly, and then he's going to cut back down to like 240, and he's going to be shredded. The biggest thing with him is his athleticism, his movement. Like, it just there's not going to be other guys in that division that move like him. It's not. He's just a better athlete than some of those guys.
I think they need to start giving some of these heavyweights a baseball bat to start the fight with. Like, they don't have a chance. Ciryl Gane looks scared. He went in there first, Francis Ngannou, not scared. Was not worried about him getting knocked his head off by Francis. Now, granted, Francis had 2 torn ACLs after that fight. He did not look scared at all. Francis is the most destructive heavyweight I've ever seen throwing punches. The knockout punch that Francis Ngannou put on Alistair Overeem should be have a warning label on it. And Ciryl Gane was just right there with him. Bang, 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 bang. John Jones got his hands on Ciryl Gane. Ciryl Gane's like, I want no parts of this. None.
I mean, I think the one interesting part too was that we talked about it. We talked about it last week, and you said that if John got him to the ground, Ciryl Gane being bigger would have an easier time getting up than he did with what Francis had. But that obviously we saw like that wasn't the case. But I really think that goes in part to I don't think any of us realized how big and how strong John really was going to be at
Yeah,
heavyweight.
you're right.
Like I didn't
But I also said that
foresee
John
that
Jones would
happening.
win the fight by wrestling. I
Yeah,
reluctantly picked him. I didn't want to.
yeah. No, for sure, for sure. But I just think in that kind of fashion where he got him down, and there wasn't even a moment where I was like, oh, Cyril can get out of this. Like Cyril's about to get up. Like he got him down and just went to work, and it was curtains from there. Clearly, it was 2-minute fight and new. So, but I agree, he is going to kill Stipe. Hate to see it.
I was watching that fight with Jacob and Adrian, and immediately when that fight started, like I'm talking about 35, 40 seconds in, they're like, John's going to kill him.
Mm-hmm.
We all knew it. We just seen the way he was moving and the way Cyril was moving. And they're like, John's going to kill him. It's destruction.
Cyril Gahn is
come up here and I could just
is a big, strong guy, that has fighting skills. John is a now big, strong guy that has great fighting skills, who is also an amazing athlete, and that is the difference. And I think you're going to see it in the Stipe fight. I think Stipe is a great fighter. I think John Jones it will lap him in that ring with the way he's going to move and strike from different angles.
Yeah.
I think it's going to get ugly, and I think that's going to be a shame because I'm a big Stipe guy as well, and I think that's definitely going to be the last time you see Stipe, and it's probably going to be, kind of an ugly goodbye. And that sucks. But
I love the UFC. DC is like trying to sell it, like, oh no, it's just going to be way tougher for John. I don't see how.
I think it's going to be tough. I think it's going to be a tougher fight. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I get it, but like, I still don't. I felt like before this fight, I would, and maybe it's because I watched this fight, but like before this fight, I would have given Cyril Gahn a better opportunity to beat John than Stipe. What's good, Melvin? My man, Melly Mel.
I will say the one thing though with Stipe is that obviously Stipe has more experience. Like Stipe has fought guys like Ngannou, and of course that's not John Jones. Like most people consider John Jones the GOAT. Like Stipe hasn't seen anybody like that, but I do like Stipe's experience. I think Stipe, of course, will have a good camp and go into it with a game plan. Now, whether he executes or not, obviously that remains to be seen, because John Jones is just as incredible as he is. But I mean, I think Stipe would have a shot to make that fight more interesting just because of his knowledge of the game. And I know he'll have a better game plan going into it. I feel like with Cyril Gahn, we knew, hey, if Cyril Gahn wins this fight, he's going to knock out John Jones. I think with Stipe, it'll be, hey, we're probably not going to knock this guy out. We're not going to out wrestle him, but we're going to find ways to strike. Maybe we'll get him in the clinch if that's what we have to do, or things like that to be successful in this fight.
Who you rooting for?
John.
Okay, just checking.
That's tough.
I'm rooting for Stipe. I'm rooting for Stipe. I'll root for anybody.
Yeah.
I'll root for the Devil versus John Jones.
If Greg Hardy and Stipe, not Stipe, John Jones. Greg Hardy, John Jones are.
John Jones. I hate Greg Hardy. You know how much I hate Greg Hardy. That's why you brought it up. All right, gentlemen. I feel like there's nothing else to talk about UFC because I want to move on because what's today's date? I'm just checking. Anybody know date?
March 8th.
Oh, okay. March Madness, baby.
There's not a pay-per-view in like 2 weeks.
I know. We'll talk about that in 2 weeks.
Okay.
I'm going to be missing next week.
Actually,
next week. We'll talk about it next week. Yeah.
You guys have a good conversation talking about it. What's the main event next week?
Usman Leon, I think.
Yeah. It's a 5 o'clock start.
Usman wins 100%. I'll give you my prediction now.
Okay.
It's another, I think the only huge upset that happened that won't be avenged. Amanda avenged her loss. Valentina avenged her loss. I think Kamaru's going to avenge his loss. I think the only loss that won't be avenged would be Alex Pereira and Izzy. I think that you watch Alex and Izzy fight for 5 rounds, and for 4.5 rounds, Izzy did his best to duck everything Alex could throw at him. And you knew when Alex got his hands on him, it was going to be over. And I thought Izzy could sneak his way out of that fight and not have to fight him again. But when he got knocked out and I has to fight him again, now Alex is even more confident. I think Alex runs through him this time. Might be 2 rounds. I believe that too. Nothing against. I love Izzy, but I think Alex runs through him. And I think then after that, you watch Hamzat absolutely pick apart Alex Pereira because he's going to wrestle him like you should. He's going to take him on his ground and knock him, destroy him. And then in the future, you see Bo Nickel versus Hamzat, 2 absolutely amazing wrestlers versus each other.
The one thing that I am a little, and I know we'll get into it more down the line, but the one thing that I am worried for Izzy is that obviously Pereira has the ability standing up, but now he's got a Glover Teixeira in his quarter, and I'm sure he's going to be teaching him. His BJJ will eventually get to, I'm not saying it's going to be Glover level because Glover was elite at it, but he's going to get it down. And once he gets that aspect of his game down, he's going to be tough to beat.
That's fair point. Fair point. We got to move on. March Madness. I'm hyped. Can we move on to March Madness?
Sure can.
All right. Listen. Pull it up, Control. What are we starting with?
North Carolina is up 26-12 right now.
That's my guys. Villanova needs to handle Georgetown, which is the worst basketball team I've ever seen in my life. And then Arizona State tonight. And then we're going to be sky high on that parlay. Right, Jeremy? I know you watching, Jeremy. I see the foot drop. Jeremy and Justin tailed me. I said, this is going to hit. And Pitt was a little bit too close earlier, but they pulled away and won. All right, we got the Pac-12.
Probably, I would say for time's sake, probably should just go
winners.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get it. Control, give me your finals and then your tournament champion.
I think this one goes chalk, actually. I think we'll get a UCLA Arizona final, and I got UCLA coming out on top. I hate doing that, but I just think these two are the best. Like, I think they're clearly the best 2 teams in this conference. I think they're going to make it to the end, and you're going to see UCLA prevail.
I reluctantly agree. UCLA, I think, is easily the class of the Pac-12 this year. I think Arizona is very good. I think USC gives Arizona a good game in that semi, but ultimately, I agree. I think you get UCLA, Arizona, and I think UCLA is your Pac-12 champion, and they're probably the 1 seed in the West.
I completely agree. I hate agreeing with you guys, but I agree.
So that means we're going to have like a Stanford, Colorado final.
I don't know. Pac-12 is really bad this year.
Oregon versus USC final. Because of what we just said.
No thanks.
I don't think the Pac-12 is bad. I just think that the 2 teams at the top.
You've 2 really good. You just have no depth this year. Like Colorado. Yeah. Colorado last couple of years had a very good team. Stanford's usually decent.
Arizona State needed a half-court shot to beat Arizona.
Correct. Arizona. If there's one team in here that will make a little noise in the bottom there, I could see Arizona State being USC. But I mean, again,
Control's got Arizona State losing tonight to Oregon State.
Oh well, that's interesting.
That's not what I said.
But I mean, like you're talking about awful teams. Cal, I think is probably worse than Georgetown, if I'm being honest. They just don't have any depth. I mean, you have UCLA, who's a great team. Arizona's very good, and then I think you have a bunch of mid-tier teams after that.
Agreed. All right, next one. Wow, this is a tough read, but I get it. It's the SEC. Alabama, Texas A&M, Kentucky, and the is that the Mizzou Tigers?
Yep.
Okay, so I am going to not go chalk on this one at all. Would you like to start us, Cottrell?
Yeah, I'll start us. I am going to take Alabama, and I am going to take Kentucky to make it to the final, and I'm actually going to roll with the Wildcats to win the SEC.
Okay. Shally?
I am going to. Sounds weird. I'm worried about Vanderbilt there or Kentucky. They beat Kentucky twice this year. Texas A&M sneaky good. I'll go Alabama. I'm gonna go Alabama over Kentucky in the final.
I'm going to go Kentucky over Tennessee. I know Tennessee lost their point guard. I understand that. I think this is going to be their last hurrah. They're a very well coached team. They're deep. They're depth. I think Tennessee is a better team than Mizzou. And I think they'll run through the 12-13 winner. I think, Arkansas or Ole Miss. Are we serious? I think I got Kentucky over Tennessee in the final of this one.
Okay.
Oh, that's South Carolina. My eyes are going, bro. The Big East. I love it. I love the Big East. This is an interesting one. The 4-5 is already in place. So this means St. John's, Butler, the winner plays Marquette, Seton Hall, DePaul winner plays Xavier, and Villanova will end up playing Creighton. Oh, man. I watched that Villanova-Creighton game just 2 weeks ago, man. Go ahead.
All right, so I guess I'll start it off. That's just been the trend.
Going down the run.
Okay. I like UConn over Villanova in the final. My first one. My first one where you have the 1 seed not making it to the final. I think UConn is. I get it. Marquette had a phenomenal year this year. I think UConn in this tournament, they're going to go all the way. Villanova, I've seen what they did to Creighton. Xavier's been a little bit shaky down the stretch here. And so I think Villanova is going to be fighting for their life, trying to make one last effort to get in. And they come up just a little bit short against UConn in the final.
I hate you.
I'm actually going to double down on it. I think Marquette had a great year. I think they take care of whoever wins their game. I think UConn smokes Providence. I think UConn gets by Marquette. Xavier and Marquette are two teams that played very well at home, struggled away greatly. I think Villanova is going to go through Creighton again. They'll probably get Xavier in the semis, and then I think they play in the finals. And I think it's a close game. I don't know if Villanova getting to the finals gets them in. I think they have to win it, but it puts them in the discussion at least. So, but I have Connecticut. I make no bones about it. They're one of my dark horses to win the entire tournament. I think UConn wins the Big East this year over Villanova, unfortunately.
Well, I was going to agree with you two, but I'm not agreeing with you two. So give me Villanova, baby. Diaper dandies. Give me Villanova over UConn. I didn't have them winning before the show started, but you two jerks stole it. So I'm taking Villanova, man. Villanova gets it done. I don't know how, but they're gonna do it. Go Nova. Jerks. The Big Ten. This is interesting. Go ahead, Kittrell, stars. I guarantee y'all don't have my pick for this one. Guaranteed.
I am going to take Indiana over Michigan State in the final. I think Michigan next round is going to give Purdue all they can handle. I actually wouldn't even be surprised if Michigan won that game. I think obviously Purdue has had a phenomenal year. When you can match up Zach Edey and Hunter Dickinson, and if Purdue is one of those teams where if Edey gets in foul trouble or they're not shooting the ball well, they struggle to score offense. Like they struggle to put together things offensively. So I think in a tournament like this, you playing these games back to back, I think you can see you'll see the fatigue in Purdue, and I don't expect them to win this whole thing. Michigan State is a team where I think if I think they're going to see Michigan in that semifinal game, and I like them to win that one. And then Indiana down at the bottom, I just think they got the best player in this tournament. I think they're going to ride his back, and he's going to get them there and ultimately bring them a Big Ten championship.
I got wildness for you, but go ahead, Charlie.
I agree with some of what Cottrell said. I think Michigan's going to beat Rutgers, and I actually think they get by Purdue. The Michigan State game, they actually split this year. They both won on their home courts. I think that's a very competitive game. Reluctantly, I think Michigan State's just a better team right now. I'll take Michigan State in the final. And I'm gonna go with Indiana as well, even though I think Indiana's quarterfinal game, which will most likely be against Maryland, that is a very, very tough game. That's gonna be their toughest game to get to the final because I think they walk through whoever comes out of that Northwestern Illinois Penn State mess there. So I think Michigan State wins the Big Ten this year, though. I think they beat Indiana in the finals, and Tom Izzo puts another Big Ten championship up in the rafters.
Okay, so y'all are gonna think I'm crazy, and that's okay. I'm going with the Michigan Wolverines over the Maryland Terps in the finals. Yes, the 8 over the 6. I think the Big Ten tournament is going to be wild, and I'm not a Purdue believer at all. I think Hunter Dickinson's going to give Zach Edey all he needs in the post. I think he's going to get him in foul trouble early, and I think that the Purdue team is going to buckle under pressure. I think Iowa upsets Michigan State, and I make no bones about it. I think Michigan beats Iowa. I think Maryland obviously upsets Indiana. I think Indiana makes it way further in the tourney. And I think Northwestern's a walkthrough. I really believe that. So I think it's going to be Michigan over Iowa in the quarters. And I think it's going to be Maryland over Northwestern in the quarters or in the semis. And I have Michigan over Maryland for Michigan to be one of those teams that punches their ticket that doesn't deserve it.
I will say, this is not me saying that Ohio State is going to go far or anything like that. I will say, for as bad of a season as they had, they actually didn't get an awful draw if they want to make something happen. I think they beat Wisconsin, but Iowa, I think it's going to just roll through. Just want to get that out there, though.
I get it. I respect it. No issues there. All right. This is the granddaddy of them all. Big 12. Start us off, Tro.
I'm gonna take Baylor over K-State in the final. Baylor is one of those teams that, unlike years past, they just can't play defense right now. But I think in a tournament like this, it's about who's getting hot, and I think Baylor is going to try and put something together to be ready for the NCAA tournament. Kansas has played well, played great, but we've seen with the Big 12 tournament specifically, the best team doesn't usually win this conference. Like, they beat up on each other all year, and then they get to the tournament time, and one of the top guys wins, but it's usually not the top one. So I think that continues this year. I take Baylor over K-State.
Okay.
I'm going. I don't know if Baylor even beats Iowa State. I mean, I think that's a really tough opening game for them. But I'm going. I disagree. I think Kansas is the best team in the Big 12. I think Kansas gets to the final, and I think you have a war between Texas and TCU to get there. And I'm going to go with Texas, and then I think Kansas gets revenge on Texas from their loss just last week in Austin. So I will kill Kansas over Texas in the final.
Give me Kansas State over Kansas. Kansas State, K-State, baby. And K-State's going to be a deep tournament team. Give me K-State over Kansas. Put K-State into that number 2 overall. They get the number 2 after winning the Big 12, and then they sleep to the Sweet 16. Kansas State. Oh, okay. ACC.
ACC's tough. I think North Carolina. I talked about other teams getting. I talked about Ohio State getting a ideal road. I think North Carolina has an ideal road. Obviously, you're going up against, if you win tonight, which I expect them to do, you'd be going up against number 2 Virginia. Your next game, I think North Carolina makes it to the final. I think they would be playing Miami. Give me North Carolina over Miami in the final.
Yikes. I mean, I think North Carolina, I think Virginia is a tricky game. They're a little bit not like a normal Virginia team this year. Clemson is imploding. I wouldn't be surprised at all if NC State, as long as they win tonight, they beat Clemson. And I don't really trust Miami, and I hate to say it, Duke's played real well down the stretch. So I'll go Homer here. And I'll get the trifecta. I'll go Duke and UNC in the final, and I'll say UNC wins this time and they punch their ticket. I think if they get to the finals, I think they're probably in the tournament anyway. But I'll go UNC over Duke.
Cool. He's a UNC fan, and Armando Bacot just got hurt, so that might change somebody's opinion. Not gonna change mine. I'm still going North Carolina over Miami. I'm still rocking Tar Heels until the wheels fall off. Give me the Tar Heels over Miami. I just don't know where they'll slip up. They're a better team than Virginia. They're a better team than Clemson.
Yep. And they know what's at stake too. Like they got, obviously you got Caleb and RJ there. Like you know what's at stake. You most likely have to win this tournament to get into the big dance. So I think they get it done.
Yeah, Baycot's out. He's limping badly and got taken to the bag. I still think that with Caleb Love and RJ, I just feel like that North Carolina is just too much. I really believe that. I don't know why North Carolina is not playing to this potential that I know they have.
And I mean, we saw it even last year in the tournament. Like Baycott got hurt and just miraculously just was ready to roll. So I'm sure halftime they'll give him some happy juice, and he's like, "Hey, I'm not leaving my brothers behind. Like this is our shot to go to the tournament. Like I want to go out on top." And I'm sure North Carolina will let him. So
it's the first time a preseason number one might not make the tournament. Is that like what I heard all week?
I believe so. Yeah.
Hopefully that's not the first time. I really want to watch North Carolina play basketball more and more. So North Carolina over Miami.
And then, of course, we got, a whole bunch of other like smaller conferences. You had Oral Roberts and Charleston punched their tickets last night. Northern Kentucky punched their ticket from the Horizon League. So
a little bit of an upset there. I promise you, man, there's going to be two teams really upset come Saturday night when they see Charleston and Oral Roberts on that 12 line. They're not going to like it. Oral Roberts is a very, very, very good basketball team. I would, unless they get somebody, unless a really big school that goes out early in one of these tournaments falls down to the 5 line, all the guys that are projected on the 5 line right now, I think Oral Roberts, it'd be hard for me to pick against them.
We'll see. I'm
and
looking
of course,
forward to it.
MAC tournament starts tomorrow. Kent State, need you to win the tournament, need you to get in, probably be on the 12 line, and I'm right there with you. I think Kent could take out a lot. Well, I haven't seen what the final projections are looking like for the 5s, but Kent's going to be a tough out for a lot of teams. And North Carolina did get a little boost here too because of Charleston punching their ticket. So that'll step up that win a little bit. So
that and it knocks everybody up a thing. So apparently it's his ankle. So I don't know. That's a hopefully just a twist, not a sprain. If it's a sprain, you could probably get the rest of tonight out of him. But overnight, once it tightens up and everything, that's going to be a wrap.
Swells and all that.
Yep.
Okay. Well, we got to move on. We got MLB. We got a couple things to go over. Second baseman's list. And we got, this list going to be fun. I can't wait. Look at the top of my list, Shally.
He's not playing second base.
Yes, he is.
No, he's not.
Yes, he is. I'm telling you. I need to find a way to put him number 1 somewhere. Yo, this list is wild. I've never seen such an array of players on list when I've seen this list. When Control first put it up, when he was showing the graphic, I've never seen such an array of players. Like nobody. This list is wild. So start us off, Control. You know the snake.
Of course. So my number 10, we got Marte at 10. I'll say you guys both have him higher, and I know it's a projection show, but he really hasn't looked the same. This is honestly, I was thinking about not having him on my list, but because I saw him at his peak, a few years ago, I just think he has the potential to get back there. But he was a shell of himself last year. I mean, I know he's been battling through injuries, past couple seasons, but I think he has the talent to get back to being a top 10 second baseman. But for me, I went with upside here, and I didn't think he necessarily deserved to be on it. But Marte, you're still there for me, so you're coming in at number 10.
So for me, I have Luis Arraez. He's going to play second base this year. Part of Miami's kind of a makeover. Decent defensively, very good contact hitter. He won the batting title last year. That's what put him on the list for me at number 10. Not a lot of power, especially in that Miami ballpark, with as big as it is and the huge alleys. Not a guy that's really going to drive the ball. One of the hardest guys in the major leagues to strike out. Quick. Again, where they moved Jazz Chisholm to center field, trying to make the team better. So he stinks on my list at number 10. Really good hitter. He's going to hit over 300. He's going to lead off for that team. He's going to be a place setter and see if they can find enough guys behind him to knock in some runs. So Luis Reyes, number 10 for me.
You talked about Ketel Marte falling off, right? You talking about Brandon Lowe. I almost didn't put Brandon Lowe on my list. Brandon Lowe looked awful last year. He looked terrible. I think he's good enough to bounce back. I think Brandon Lowe just makes my list, though. Brandon Lowe makes my list at number 10. My number 9, Jorge Polanco. Jorge Polanco is an incredible defensive second baseman that plays shortstop also. He's going to play good defense, and I think he'll bat 270, 280 like he did 2 years ago. Last year was a bad hitting year for him, but still did not change his defensive numbers. I got Jorge Polanco, number 9.
At number 9, I got the guy Gene just talked about, Brandon Lowe. Really good player. Just, again, he's another one. Same with Marte. Really, really, really battled the injury bug the last 2 years. Above average, defensively. He's probably right around neutral, probably with defensive run saves and defensive WAR. He's going to make all the plays that he should. Probably not going to make anything crazy flashy. And he's a good hitter when he's on. He's about 260, 270 career hitter, somewhere right around in there. Decent power to the gaps. One of those old school guys that plays with no batting gloves, which is crazy to me. But I think if he could stay healthy this year and recover from the back injury, I think you see him round back into form what he's been the last 3 or 4 years, and that's why I put him at number 9.
My number 9 is from St. Louis Cardinals, Tommy Edman. I think him defensively, obviously, is his claim to fame. Won a Gold Glove 2 years ago, and he's above average at the plate. I love infielders who are great defensively, and seeing his numbers. Of course, he's in that Cardinals lineup. I think he'll be great there for him yet again this year, and he's young, so I expect him to improve as well. My number 8, Brandon Lowe. Gene, I'm 100% with you. He didn't look great last year, but he was also hurt last year. I mean, he missed more than half the season, and that's really the only reason why him and Marte aren't in the exact same ballpark for me. I think Brandon Lowe comes back this season. I would expect him to play a full season, and I think if he plays a full season, his numbers would look a lot better. So I don't think he's lost it all completely yet, but Brandon Lowe, I'm expecting a bounce back year from him.
So number 8 for me, I have Ketel Marte, guy that you've already talked about, and we've already mentioned a little bit. He only played 35 games last year. His numbers are down. He's been banged up the last 2 seasons as well. I think a lot of us putting these guys on a list is assuming they get back to somewhere where they were the last couple of years. I mean, the first year we did this, I think we all had Ketel Marte in our top 3. That's the kind of talent he has. That's the kind of player he is if he's right. He could struggle on another bad Arizona team. I think he desperately needs to get out of Arizona. I think he needs a change of scenery and to be on a little bit more of a competitive team. But Defensively, he struggled a little bit last year. Again, another guy with a back issue, and didn't hit. But I mean, baseball is definitely one of those sports you use your back in literally every little damn thing you do. So I hope he stays healthy because he's a very exciting player to watch when he is. I had him on my list because again, I think he bounces back enough to make the top 10. But I only have him at number 8. So Ketel Marte.
I got Tommy Edman Ketel Marte's number 8 for me. Bill said everything you need to say about Ketel Marte. I agree with everything he said, which is rare on this show. It is. He's right, though. Everything he said was accurate. My number 7 is Tommy Edman. I just need Bill to explain to me why Tommy Edman's not on his list. You want to talk about scrappy ball player. Guy steals 30 bases, bats 260, very good defensively, hits for average, he can hit 10 or 11 out of the ballpark. He's a monster on the base paths. Tommy Edman's my number 7.
Number 7 for me is Gleyber Torres, and I mean he's going to start a theme here for the next 2 guys. Actually, almost next 3 guys that I have on my list. Plus defensively, he's going to move to second base this year, but he is capable. He's a left side infielder by nature. He's capable of playing shortstop and third baseman. He's very good defensively. He was in top 5 for defensive runs saved for shortstops last year at +9. And you saw the second half of the year last year. He started to get his power back a little bit. I think a lot of the uncertainty of where he was going to play, and the bright lights of New York, and just everything all combined, I think started to get to him. And the second half of the year last year, they said he's going to play every day. And once he settled in, he saw his power numbers come back in the second half. He ended up with, I believe, 24, 25 home runs, somewhere in there, 75 RBI, somewhere, he's a 25, 75 guy. And I think he's going to have another good year this year. So you're getting plus defense out of a guy, and he's going to, that we know what that Yankees lineup is capable of. So I expect his numbers to go up even a little bit more this year. So number 7 for me.
My number 7 is a guy that Shally already mentioned, Luis Reyes. I know him being moved from Minnesota to Miami in the baseball sense is hell, but I think when you can hit for average and do the things that you do, hardly ever strike out, like that's super important. And I obviously won the batting title last season, but I think him moving over to Miami it's a good start for them. Obviously, Jazz is still there as well. I don't think his numbers really take too much of a hit. He's not a power guy, so it's not like him moving to Miami is gonna really hurt him. So I think his numbers will be very similar to what he was last year. And I think if that's the case, having him 7, wouldn't be crazy. My number 6, Gleyber Torres. Bill just mentioned a lot of it. He had great numbers towards the end of last season. Fully expect him to replicate that as well. So, if he's in the 25 to 30 home run range, I mean, he's going to be a top 6 second baseman. I just don't see him getting to the point where he's above any of the 5 guys that any of us have ahead of him.
Number 6 for me, I have Nico Horner. You want to talk about blasphemous, Gene? I need you how to explain how Gleyber Torres is not on your list. I just realized that, but we'll get to that later. Number 6 for me, I got Nico Horner. Again, another young kid just coming up, very good defensively, +9 runs saved last year, or +6, sorry. He's another guy. He's going to move to second base and play second base this year. So you're going to get shortstop level defense out of a second baseman. The Cubs side, Dansby Swanson this year, he's going to start at short. Nico's another guy, 280 plus hitter, decent power, more of a contact guy and a doubles guy, good base runner, fast. I think with him only being 26, he's going to get better and better. That Chicago team is probably still a year or 2 away, but they're starting to rebuild it. And they have their middle infield pretty much set now for the next 5 or 6 years. So it is Nico Horner is kind of a sneaky guy, but to put on the list, but he's very, very good. Didn't get a lot of attention last year because the Cubs were terrible. He's a very, very good player. So number 6 on my list.
Gleyber Torres is a great defensive shortstop, great defensive second baseman. Guy can't hit. It's about 250 his whole career. Listen, you can say what you want. I just hate the Yankees. So if I'm going to give somebody a little bit of a press, I'm going to give Marte and Lowe and Edman a plus over Gleyber Torres because I know they can all hit better than he can. So Marcus Semion's my number 6. Talk about a guy that took a down year last year. He hit 45 home runs, and then he got a huge contract, and his power numbers completely dropped off the face of the earth. He's hitting home runs like Gleyber Torres last year. But I believe he will bounce back. I really believe that, and I think that Marcus Semien will be back in that top 10. But just based off last year, he really – I think the Texas Rangers are going to be a scary team this year. I really believe that. Now – I understood it from Cottrell, but I'll hear it from Shally later. For Shally being the guy that's from the show me state, show me 7, I'll show you 8. Andres Gimenez burst onto the scene. I have him as a top 5 shortstop. I have second baseman, top 4 based on their list because neither one of them have Mookie Betts, and they would all have Mookie Betts ahead of him when Mookie's going to play second for the Dodgers. But we'll get into that in a minute. Andres Gimenez burst onto the scene. But and what that trade looks like for Frankie Lindor, it looks better and better the way Jimenez played last year, right? Like we bashed the Guardians for making that trade and giving up on Frankie. But if Jimenez keeps playing like this, man, I think he could be higher up on this list. But the 3 guys ahead of him are all show me guys. They've shown me year in and year out. And I'll get into why Jeff McNeil's ahead of him. But Jimenez is next level. He's unworldly. I just think that, at this point, I can't put him ahead of the 3 guys that are way more consistent than he has. Jimenez did it for 1 year, and he was incredible, but he did it for the second half of 1 year.
Number 5 for me, I got Marcus Semien. Gene just talked about him a little bit. I do agree as well. I think Texas is going to be a scary team this year. I don't know if they win the division, but I do think they contend for a wild card spot this year, especially if DeGrom can stay healthy. Marcus Semien had a down year. The 44 home run year, I think we can all agree, is going to be the peak for him. That was his career year. He's already 32 years old. He missed some time at the beginning of last year. Kind of got off to a really slow start, especially with no spring training really last year for anybody. So he didn't really come back till the end of May, and then really just kind of had to put it all together from that point forward. And he still ended up with 26 home runs and over 80 RBIs. That's what he is. He's better defensively than people realize. He's not great by any means, but he's above average. And he again still put up decent power numbers last year. Him and Gene's boy Corey Seager. In the middle of that lineup, top to the middle of that lineup. And I think if he stays healthy this year, I think he puts up really good numbers again. There's some projections list, obviously. I think he plays well. I just don't think he's going to have a better season than the 4 guys I have ahead of him. That's all.
Oh man, I love that we're back here. You said Gene's boy Corey Seager, and just brings me back to the best times of the show.
Do we need to bring up your list from last year?
Oh no, I'm just saying it's just fun that we're back here. It's funny too because you double down on it even after the season.
My guy. Listen, Corey Seager. I've been a huge fan of.
We're gonna get to Seager.
Yeah, let's stay on task. Seager's next week. Let's stay on task. Gene will have a Seager moment next week.
Listen, he's throwing errant shots. I could pull up his.
It wasn't a shot. I just said it was fun. Bill started it. Bill said your boy Corey Seager. I didn't just bring it up out of nowhere. 5. 5, I got Marcus Semien. You guys already hit it on the head. I mean, him making the move to Texas, I think that played a part in why his numbers were down. Obviously, he had the one outlier year. Wasn't expecting him to hit 40 home runs last year, but it wasn't the year that we were expecting. I think him fully engaged now and being on a team that's going to be in the playoffs, I think he'll shine a little bit more this upcoming season. My number 4 is Ozzie Albies. Now, you talked about guys showing it to you. I 100% understand that, but if I'm going off what I saw last year and projecting it forward, Ozzie didn't look the same towards the towards the end of the year.
Last year, he came off of almost a career-ending injury.
Exactly. So I'm expecting him to. So I saw him come back last year from that injury that could have been career-ending. And I'm expecting him to go back up to being a top 3 guy this year. Like, I just don't know if I can go with that. I
Look
expect
good
him to
down the
be a
stretch.
lot better this upcoming season.
Look good down the
Um,
stretch.
I hear you, but did he look better than the top three guys on on my list?
No, he didn't.
Okay,
Not down
so
the stretch.
that's just what I'm going off of. I like Ozzy. He's been on my list every year that we've had this show going on. So um, I expect him to bounce back, but I just think he's going to be a step behind my top three guys.
So Ozzy was the hardest person for me to place on this list for a lot of reasons. If you look at what he was when he was healthy in his peak, I mean, this kid is at 26. He's already a multiple time Silver Slugger winner. Um, Me and Gene get to watch him way too often when he plays against the Phillies. The kid scares me. The kid scares me every bit as much as Acuna does. He does things, different. He's different ways to beat you than Acuna. I hate playing against the guy. Um, I don't think you're really going to see what he is until this year. He's going to have a full year back off the injury almost. I'm assuming he's healthy. I have him at number four. I debated putting him up high as number two, and I had him down as low as 7 or 8 at one point. The kid's great. He's a great hitter. He's dangerous. He's fast. I think if he has his legs back under him and he's healthy, I think he's easily a top four, if not a top 2 or 3 second baseman in the league. So I settled on number four for this year. Um, won't be surprised if he's higher next year. The kid is a very, very, very good baseball player.
I have Jeff McNeil number 4 because I'm a hater. He's a Met. Listen, Jeff McNeil won the batting title last year, and they're getting rid of the shift. Like, I don't know how you get him out. And I wish I could tell you he was a bad fielder. He's not. Makes some ridiculous plays. Listen, he's not Ozzy Albies, but he's not, Andres Jimenez, what he's going to be. But
Defensively, he's better than Andre Albies, but
I don't think so. But Jeff McNeil as a hitter puts him way up this list. He probably should be higher. I'm just a hater. I think Ozzy Albies has a great season. That's why. Ozzy Albies is my number 3. You want to talk about a guy who hit 30 home runs, 7 triples, 40 doubles in 2021's last full healthy season. He will be back to that. He's shown he's young enough to recover from the injury. He looked great down the stretch. Ozzy Albies is a problem. And I have Ozzy Albies number 3. I think he's just coming into his prime.
Number 3 for me, I have Jose Altuve. Had a great year offensively last year. He's getting a little bit older. He's going to be 33 this year. Power numbers are still there. He had 28 home runs. Only had 57 RBIs, though. Still hit 300. The reason I knocked him down is simple. There's 2 sides to baseball. Jose Altuve is the worst defensive player on this list by far, on anybody's list, and it's not even close. He was minus 16 runs saved last year. He's pretty much the Reese Hoskins of second baseman, if we're being honest. His offensive talent and the numbers that he's capable of putting up because of the team that he's on keeps him on this list and as high as he is. I can't stand him. He's an absolute bona fide cheater. You can call me a hater. You can call me whatever you want. But the dude literally just ruined the integrity of baseball. But he's got to be on the list somewhere. So I have him number 3.
My number 3 is a guy that Gene already mentioned, Jeff McNeil. I think obviously we saw what he did last year, winning the batting title. But I think the other scary thing is obviously the Mets are going to be just as good this upcoming season, if not better. So, I mean, I think all of his numbers are going to be the same, and we're going to see another phenomenal season from Jeff McNeil. And I could argue that he could have been my number 2, but my number 2 is a guy that plays very close to home, Andres Jimenez, and I absolutely love him. Kid's 24 years old. I mean, he's close to a 300 hitter. Obviously won the Gold Glove last year. He's an incredible player, and I think with him being that young on a team that had so little expectations last year and getting to where they got, I think, the sky's the limit for him, especially him being as young as he is right now. I think we're going to see a lot of the same from last year. And Gene, you just mentioned it with McNeil. Obviously, he was hitting before the shift. With Jimenez, I mean, take the shift away, he's going to be over a 300 hitter this year. So 300 hitter, you could hit for a little bit of power, nothing crazy. Probably hit 20 home runs and have Gold Glove caliber defense. That puts you high on my list, and so I see him sitting at number 2.
So number 2 ends kind of the murderers, hater row for me between the Atlanta Brave, Jose Altuve, and now I got to talk about a freaking New York Met. So, but listen, Jeff McNeil is, if anybody's kind of an old school throwback type player on that team, it would be Jeff McNeil. And as much as I hate the Mets, I've always been a Frankie Lindor fan, so I don't trash him either, but Jeff McNeil's a great hitter. It's another guy that me and Gene get to see way too much, and get to see him, hit the ball somewhere where one of our guys are not standing too much. Batted .326 last year, won the batting title like Gene mentioned. Has decent pop. I think he 9 home runs, got a lot of doubles, 62 RBIs, high OPS. Bats at the top of that lineup, which is going to be a very, very strong lineup again this year. Probably Frankie and him up top before you get into, Alonso and all those guys. So plus defender, up around 3 or 4 runs saved last year, puts him in the top 10 for second baseman. Very good player, very well rounded. We've mentioned the shift numerous times. It's a guy that's very comfortable hitting to all sides of the field already as it is. Now that you can't shift them, it's going to be very interesting. So Jeff McNeil is number 2 for me.
Look, Al Cheater, I don't need to talk about him that much. Altuve, he's just the old guard, man. He keeps consistently getting on base, scoring a ton of runs, hitting over 300. He's a very good hitter, but at the end of the day, I don't want to talk about the Cheater that much. What I want to talk about is Mookie Betts playing second base. I'm waiting to get to this moment. I want to read you an interview real quick from manager Dave Roberts. When asked about the idea of Mookie Betts playing second base, he said, "It's real," Roberts said of Betts playing second base. That's the way we envision it. Roberts added that with the issues, with the injury to Gavin Lux and the loss of Trey Turner, that the Dodgers will be looking to bring in a replacement, whether it be an infielder or an outfielder. I think the Dodgers bring in an outfielder. They're a lot easier to find. I think the Dodgers bring in an outfielder between now and opening day, and I think Mookie Betts is your opening day starting second baseman. I think he starts about 100 to 115 games at second base, and he starts another 40 to 50 in the outfield. I believe that. So for that reason, I have Mookie Betts at second base. He's playing second base in the World Baseball Classic for the American team. I think Mookie Betts he wants to transition there. He said last year in September, he loves playing second base. He loves playing the infield. Mookie Betts wants to play the infield. There's an injury that allows him to move in that position, and outfield is a much easier position to replace and bring in a big name player. And I think the Dodgers will do that. So I think Mookie Betts will be the best second baseman in baseball this year. I don't think either one of you guys would argue with me if I told you he plays 110 games at second base, you would have him as your number 1 second baseman. Is that fair?
Yes.
Okay. So you guys just don't project him to play as many games there as I do, and that's fine.
I mean, I just think if anybody goes there, I think they make a deal and get an infielder, or I could see Muncy going to second base because he's talked about wanting to go to second base as well.
Muncy's played second base before. They have Muncy at third right now. The thing that's really complicating right now is Vargas, who they thought was going to kind of be the 5th guy, and they would just slide him into second. He's hurt now too, so they're waiting to kind of see how serious that's going to be. If he's hurt, then I think it ups the odds of Gene's prediction being right of putting Mookie at second until people come back. I think if Vargas is healthy at the end of camp to start the season, then I think you're going to see Mookie in right field. That's just my opinion.
I get it. Listen, I'm bold. I'm bold for a reason. It's a projection. I think you can hear the Dodgers signed outfielders so-and-so the next couple weeks, and Mookie Betts will be your starting second baseman. Gavin Lux's injury and the loss of Trey Turner really puts them in a position right now. And I think outfielder is a way easier position to replace.
Yeah, I mean, it can be. It's a complicated conversation because you're not just replacing an average right fielder at that point. So, is it's just it's a longer conversation that we need to have for this
Agreed.
list. I get it, and if he ends up playing there, then obviously, he would be on everybody's list. Um, number one for me. Sorry. Um, I sent it to Cottrell, and I actually thought me and Cottrell were on the same person, number one, and he said he felt better having his guy number two now than I put mine up there. But I thought for sure Homer was going to have number one with me. But I have no problem putting him there because I think he's the best second baseman in the league. Andres Jimenez, he is by far the best defensive player in the league for a second baseman. Didn't even play a full season last year and won the Gold Glove. To tell you how crazy that is, how just absolutely fantastic he is defensively. 16 defensive runs saved in not a full season. That is crazy. You were talking all-time level of people defensively for a young kid who's not even 24 yet. Offensively, he's going to hit in front of J-Ram. He's going to keep doing his thing. He put up big numbers, almost hit 300. He projects out to be a 25, 26, 27 home run guy. He hit 17 last year, had 70 RBIs in a limited time there. I think the sky's the limit for the kid. I think, to Gene's, credit earlier, like he said, he keeps playing like this. I don't think you can call the trade a loss for Cleveland anymore. I think for as young as he is and how much control they still have over him, and I don't think he's even come close to peaking yet. I think the kid's great. That's why I have him number one. I think he's the best second baseman in Major League Baseball.
I love to hear it, but my number one, Jose Altuve. Obviously, Bill, you brought up his point. You brought up your point about how he is defensively. I just think that when you could step up to the plate and be as productive as you are, I'm not saying it doesn't matter, but when you're doing it at that level, silver slugger level, it matters a little bit less. And obviously, he's on a team that's absolutely loaded, and they won the World Series last year. So I think Altuve has another phenomenal year. He's going to be deep in that MVP talk because Houston's going to be, great again. I know they lost Verlander, but they're still going to be a phenomenal team this upcoming year. And I see Altuve replicating pretty much his 2022 season. So that's why he's number one for me.
Okay. I mean, that's the second baseman list, gentlemen. I will send my shortstop list to these guys. You're going to get a Bill and Cottrell special next week. It'll be fun. And that's all there is to it. Second baseman list is Fine, like George. That's my line. We got to talk about the NFL Combine. Or let's talk about the World Baseball Classic first. My fault. I don't want to skip over the World Baseball Classic. We got the pools. We got the pools here.
The pools.
So already some craziness happening. Bill, you want to fill us in on what's happening in the World Baseball Classic already?
I have not watched it yet because I have it on DVR. So, I mean, we're going to talk about it on the show. So if you want to ruin it, that's completely fine.
Well, I'm going to ruin it. It happened yesterday. Netherlands beat Cuba.
I saw the crazy catch as well. But
yep.
That is go ahead, keep going.
Netherlands beat Cuba yesterday. It's a big upset. Cuba's predicted to win the bracket. I mean, Netherlands is a very good team. They're a lot better than people think, than people know who they are. But Cuba's still predicted to win that bracket. Chinese Taipei got their ass handed to them today. So, I mean, you're going to look at, Panama, who no one gave a chance to come out of this bracket, just handed Chinese Taipei, who was the third favorite in the bracket, to come out. Every piece of beat them 12-5. So that pool A is looking really, really interesting already. Netherlands and Cuba are the two predicted teams. Cuba can bounce back from their opening loss, but they got to start winning games. And if Panama looks any bit as good as they did today, they have a more than good chance to come out of that bracket with Netherlands.
So the one thing about Netherlands, which you touched on already, which I don't think people realize, like you said, I believe they made the semifinals, the last one, and lost in like extra innings to somebody. They made a great run. The thing about the Netherlands is that people don't realize to bring up the Little League World Series, just to make this familiar with people. How many times have you seen like Curacao in the finals against the U.S. team? Curacao obviously is a country that is owned by Netherlands. I hate to use the word owned, but it just is. That's the easiest way to say it. So all the guys that grew up on that island that have major league experience, they all play for Netherlands. Gene's point, that is a very deep team. It's a deep team. It's an experienced team. And they're way better at baseball than people think they are. So
they got 6 starting MLB players in their lineup: Jerkson, Profar, Bernardina, Xander Bogaerts, Didi Gregorius, Jonathan Shoup, Andrelton Simmons in their lineup. So it's not like there's no scrubs.
No, they're all Curacao kids. So they're going to be very tough. I mean, I think Cuba, to your point, if you asked me to pick before it started, I would have picked Cuba to win the pool, and I would Netherlands too. I mean, Netherlands, when they play Cuba, I mean, that's Cuba, kind of shot themselves in the foot, to be honest. I mean, they have a little bit of an uphill battle now, like you said. I don't think Panama's going to be a pushover. It's interesting. Pool A is definitely kind of up in the air already, which is fun. It's good for the tournament.
Look, Panama winning 12-5 over Chinese Taipei today is huge in a lot of different reasons. So what I want to do is I want to pick our 2 pool winners, and then we'll get into the quarterfinals. We'll give a projection. For Pool A, I'll go upset. I'm gonna go Netherlands, Panama.
I'm gonna have Netherlands winning the pool now, and I think Cuba gets it together and they get out of there.
Definitely like the Netherlands because I know people on their roster. I'm not gonna lie. Pool A is I guess I would go Panama. Panama is my runner up.
So you both got Cuba not getting out of pool play.
I do not.
Woo, that'll be spicy.
It would be. Pool B, Japan's pool to lose.
Absolutely.
I think Japan, they're the biggest favorite to come out of their pool than anybody in the entire World Baseball Classic. Japan and Korea would be my 2 picks in Pool B.
I'm going to agree with you. I think Japan is the prohibitive favorite in that pool. I don't know if I'd say they're the favorite of anybody else to get out of their pool.
No, they're the biggest favorite in their pool to come out.
Okay, yeah. Japan definitely. I mean, you have a couple really big names from the Japan Major League, and then obviously you have Shohei on that team. There's a bunch of really, really good players on there. Most of them were just the average baseball fan is not familiar with. Second, I mean, I'll go out on a limb here. I'll say Australia comes out with Japan.
Okay. Pool C, the United States, their lineup is too deep. They're very light on pitching, but their lineup is so deep. I think the United States wins Pool C. Man,
Did it ever come out why they're pitching like no one wanted to go?
All the pitchers said no. They were begging.
I know. I'm saying.
I said no. I don't know.
I saw that they all said no, but like, did it ever come out what the reason was?
That's not true. Clayton Kershaw then agreed to do it. Clayton Kershaw got hurt and he's not playing. There's a couple guys on the pitching staff that are dropped out because they've got hurt already. I don't see any way they don't win. I mean, their starting lineup is ridiculous. They have the best batting lineup in this entire thing. If you look at they announced their starting lineup today, how they're going to play Game 1. It's crazy.
Adam Wainwright starting Game 1 though, bro.
I get it. Here's the reason they're definitely going to be okay in pool play. Get to the semifinals. I think it could be a different story because obviously who they're probably going to play. But there's strict pitching limits in this for pitchers. So this isn't going to be like Japan, for instance. Like they can't throw Shohei out there to throw 9 innings. Like that's not going to happen.
The
So
United
like
States has some great relievers, though. So you're
they
right about
do.
that. Ryan
Correct.
Presley
So
will be the biggest name out of that pen.
their bullpen is very good. So I think top to bottom, I think they have the best lineup. I think they have one of the best bullpens. Their weakness is clearly going to be their starting pitching. I think they're just going to mash enough where I don't think it's going to matter until they play a really good team.
Yeah, that's fair. That Dominican lineup, though, is not one to joke with, and they have a pitching staff.
You do?
So I have the United States coming out of Pool C, with Mexico being the runner-up.
I have the same actually. I think Mexico is a solid team. I wouldn't be surprised if Mexico beats everybody but the U.S.
Give me the USA, of course, to win it. Give me Canada. Canada coming out of as the second one.
Okay.
Canucks.
For Pool D is the deepest, is the pool of death. Dominican Republic, Venezuela, Puerto Rico, they're all very, very good teams. One of them is going to have to go home. I'll go with Dominican Republic and Puerto Rico to be the teams that move on from Pool D.
I am going to agree with you. I don't think people even realize that Israel is way better than they would think they would be. Dominican Republic has the second best lineup in here besides the U.S. And they have obviously they're going to have 2 pitchers at the top of their staff that are going to be ridiculous. I think Venezuela is kind of the odd man out here, and that kind of sucks because I'm going to take Puerto Rico's balance and offense and defense to get them through, but it is absolutely the pool of death. I mean, those top 3 teams in that pool, you can make a case could win the whole damn thing. So, but I think Dominican Republic wins the pool, and I'll go with Puerto Rico.
You want to hear something wild? I looked up the odds just because we were talking about it. The odds-on favorite to win the World Baseball Classic shouldn't surprise anyone. It's the Dominicans. Second is the United States. Third is Japan. I think those 3 don't surprise a lot of people. Anyone want to take a roundabout guess who's fourth?
I'll go Netherlands.
Is it
It's
my
a tie between 2 teams?
my runner-up is Venezuela. Is it them?
It's
Out of Pool D?
Venezuela is one,
Okay.
and the other one's Korea.
That surprises me.
Mexico is number 5. Puerto Rico is number 6. The Netherlands is a distant 7.
Yeah, I think Dominican. I think they win their pool. You said they're second best lineup. I mean, definitely a blow that Vlad's not going to be with them anymore. But I still like the Dominican Republic, and then my runner-up is going to be Venezuela. I think they find a way to make it out.
Man, this is going to be a fun bracket. So in our quarterfinals, let's just go through it real quick. The winner of Pool A plays the second place team in Pool B. The winner of Pool B plays the second place team in Pool A. So that means we have Japan versus, you guys have versus Cuba. I have versus Panama. Or you have Panama too?
I have Panama too, yeah.
So we both have Japan advancing. Is that all fair for everyone? Can we?
Yep.
Yes.
Yes.
So, and then the other side of it, we have the Netherlands going up against Korea or Australia. I think we can all agree the Netherlands should advance there.
Yep.
Let's go to the other side. The United States versus Puerto Rico or Venezuela.
U.S.
I take the U.S.
I agree with the U.S. The Dominicans versus Mexico. I'll take the Dominicans.
Same.
Dominican.
So we have the final 4 of the United States, the Dominican Republic, the Japanese, and the Netherlands.
I hate that they did it this way.
Why? Because the best 2 teams are playing in the semifinals?
Yeah, I think whoever wins that game wins the whole thing. I mean, that's no disrespect to Japan or anything else, or Netherlands or anybody else that comes in from the other side. They're just talent wise, they are head and shoulders above everybody else in this tournament. and the fact that it's going to be played in the semifinals sucks. I know why they did it and why they had to do it this way, but at the same time, I don't know, man. It sucks. I mean, like I said, I would love to see that in a
for all the marbles.
for all the marbles, and that's the way it should be. But it is what it is.
So very interesting. I'm looking at right now. What I'm looking at is some of the roster breakdowns, and man, these are just some interesting roster breakdowns. I looked at some of it earlier, but I got real in depth with the U.S. roster, and I just didn't look at the Dominicans as deep as I should. Their pitching staff is absurd. This is the oh man, what is ridiculous. This is the United States position player. Man, you got Pete Alonso, Tim Anderson, Nolan Arenado, Mookie Betts, Goldie, Jeff McNeil. I'm not going to pronounce Kyle's last name. Cedric Mullins, JT, Schwarbs, Will Smith, Mike Trout, Kyle Tucker, Trey Turner, and Bobby Witt Jr.
Then on the other side of the matchup,
oh man, this is such a stacked. Rafael Devers, Wander Franco, Vlad's not playing. Teoscar Hernandez, Manny Machado, Ketel Marte,
Julio Rodriguez,
Jeremy Pena, Julio Rodriguez, Juan Soto. Oh, it's going to be fun. It is going to be fun. The pitching staff for the Americans, I'm looking at it right here, and it's just so bad. Nestor Cortez is probably their best starting pitcher.
He's out. He's not pitching.
Oh, my God. Kershaw's out. Lance Lynn.
Yeah, I mean, you're probably going to
give
get
you 5 good innings.
Look, yeah. You're going to get Wainwright and Lance Lynn, I would assume, would be your first two. And like I said, I mean, you already talked about it. I think they're just going to lean on their pen and go from there.
Yeah.
I think they're going to lean on scoring 9 runs every night.
Correct. Bro, I mean, listen, their top 4 in their lineup is Trey Turner, Mookie Betts, Mike Trout, Paul Goldschmidt. And then behind that, you still have Alonso, Kyle Tucker, JT. It's insanity, dude. It's insanity. It's top to bottom. It's the best. You're gonna have people like Tim Anderson and Bobby Witt Jr. and Cedric Mullins and people like that. They're all gonna be bench guys. I mean, these guys are all stars. I mean, it's to watch when you watch the Dominican versus the U.S. game in the semifinals, which is what we should get. You are legit watching an all-star game, and I don't mean like borderline all-stars. Like you were watching like 15 of the top 20 guys in the freaking league are gonna be in that game. Like it's
right.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
You're right.
It just shouldn't be a semifinal. It's just ridiculous.
But it will be very, very well. The Japanese pitching staff is still unheard of. They're still ridiculous.
They are.
They've always been good, and I think that Japan will rely on their pitching. I think the Americans will rely on their hitting. Obviously, the Dominicans have a good mix of both. I don't know, man. Something about sending Adam Wainwright out there versus Sandy Alcantara. Like it's just.
Yeah, I was just about to say, like, if
he's crafty, baby.
Game on the line, and that's the semis, and you got to go up against Sandy. Like, I get it. The lineup it's different than an MLB game because the lineup is so crazy. But Sandy's ability to just mow down people, like, and he's used to seeing the same guys, 3 times. So I think him going through the lineup twice, like. And I get it; it's the best players in the world, but like, it's hard not to say that he can't do it,
So here's where it gets interesting. And this is where pool play comes into a big thing. You're only gonna be able to get 2 starts out of any of these guys, so you kind of have to work this backwards. So obviously, if the Dominican Republic really feels like they're getting to the finals, which they should, you would assume he's going to start that game, which means he wouldn't pitch against the U.S. And depending on how, like, if they get a loss, a loss somewhere early in pool play. Like I don't know if he's going to pitch game one, depending on how it's all broken down. So there's a lot of like I saw like the Team USA one today, and they had like the names blocked out obviously because they didn't want anybody to know what it was. But there's like 9 different scenarios for like each pitcher about where they'll use them, depending on like how they're doing in pool play and so forth and so on. So there is a lot of strategy in it because the pitchers are on such a strict pitch limit. Like this isn't going to be like like I said, like throw Sandy out there and he's going to pitch 7 innings. Like that's not going to happen. So it gets very I would assume still they would pitch him against the U.S. and they would take their chances with whoever else they have to get to the finals, but maybe not. I mean, there's a lot of different strategy and a lot of different thinking going into it.
Okay, so we will move on to NFL, the combine, and free agency. I'm looking forward to talking about this. Where do you want to start? You want to start with free agency or you want to start with combine?
I say combine.
So just get the combine out the way.
Agreed.
So I got a really strong statement to make, and it just bothers me because like I watch people do this every year, and it's frustrating. Do y'all think Bryce Young should have thrown at the combine?
In hindsight, probably.
I wouldn't have.
You said probably.
I say no.
No.
If my game
probably
no.
In hindsight, after watching what the other guys did, I would have won a throne. Yeah.
So hold on. Let me paint a scenario for you. I'm not a very attractive male. So like me going to a club and trying to pick up women based off my looks, it's not like the best route for me to go pick up women. Is that fair? I'm not trying to be smart-ass. Like, I got a point that gets really
right, well, I gotta see what your point is first before
I have game. I can spit game.
I have game.
I can talk to women, and it's no problem. It's very fluid. Okay.
Oh, Christ.
So hold on. I don't want to stand next to Will Levis and CJ Stroud and Anthony Richardson on the beach and try to pick up women. It doesn't make sense. I play better than they do. I got a better job. I got a nicer car. I got more money. I'm more friendly. I'm kinder. They look better, right? So when you look at their arms and you stand there and put Bryce Young's arm against their arms, it doesn't make sense for him to. Why would you throw against Will Levis, who's got a cannon? I've watched him play. Will Levis couldn't beat out Sean freaking Clifford. Do you realize that? The guy's not that good. He makes very poor decisions, and he's got a rocket for an arm. At best, he's a project. Let me get into Anthony Richardson. All these measurables at the combine don't say shit to me when this guy can't throw the football. He stunk versus LSU. He stunk versus Utah. He didn't throw his first touchdown pass to the 4th game of the season. Let's call him back. He's Cam Newton. My guy, he has the ability to be a project. And we're talking about taking these guys over Bryce Young. And listen, I would have never said this 6 months ago. And CJ Stroud, Bryce and CJ have shown they could do it against elite defenses on the highest level. I don't need a combine to tell me that Bryce Young's better than Will Levis.
Who's arguing that, though?
Cottrell.
There's a lot of people. There's a lot of people arguing it. I mean, you could see it with you could even just see it with the odds of who's going to go number 1. You've seen that line shift a ton, like with Will Levis and with Anthony Richardson. I mean, going into right after the season ended, Anthony Richardson was plus 7,500 to be the first pick in the draft. Now he's sitting at plus 700. Like, that's insanity to me. And it's not like we didn't know these things about these guys. Like, after the season ended, I knew Will Levis had a strong arm and he's somewhat athletic, like for him to be as big as he is. But I also know that he really can't read coverages and he makes poor decisions. And with Anthony Richardson, I knew he was a great athlete. Like, I didn't need a combine to show me that he's fast and can jump high and be a great athlete. I know that he doesn't throw the football great. Now, I'm not saying either one of these guys can't be decent NFL quarterbacks. But if you draft them, you're drafting them knowing that it's a project. You're going off of projection.
Correct. I'm not saying
And I'm not taking that. Yeah. 100%. I'm not taking. I can't take a project number one. I don't take a project number one. I don't take a project number two. If I'm sitting at 8 and I'm like, oh, maybe I got a shot here to hit on something big. Maybe it might be a bust. Why not take a quarterback? I'm 100% fine with that. But you should know coming in that the two best quarterbacks in this class are Bryce Young and CJ Stroud. We've been really saying it for the last 2 years. So I don't know. They were the best in their class going into high school. They're the best going into this class coming out. So I just don't know how the big arm, because you already knew it was going to happen. So I don't get it. I'm right there with you, Gene.
So just to kind of follow up on that for a minute, if everything goes right, everything, and this guy's an absolute hard worker, the absolute ceiling for Anthony Richardson is Jalen Hurts this past year. That's the absolute ceiling for the kid. Listen, Jalen Hurts had an MVP caliber season this year, but that's if everything goes right. If he's willing to put in the work, and that's 3 years down the line. That's the absolute ceiling.
And I think for Will, I think the absolute highest ceiling for him would be this past season that we saw with Josh Allen.
Yeah.
With the higher number of turnovers, obviously you get great play out of them the majority of the time, but you also get turnovers in big spots. And I think that would be the absolute highest that you would see Will Levis be at. I mean, if he hits that, then he's a top 10 quarterback in the league. And I'm sure everybody wants to have one of those, but it's like, if I could have a top 5 guy, why wouldn't I try to go after that?
Talk about fun stuff for a minute. Did you see Nolan Smith run a 4.39 as an edge rusher?
40-inch vertical. Freak.
Talk about a guy that's made himself some money at the combine, Nolan Smith. By the way, Shally, your guy, DJ Turner.
Very good.
The guy ran a 4.26 official.
Yep.
That's an insane number.
He will make somebody's secondary a lot better. He's a very good football player. He's very smart. He's a good kid.
4.26. That's gonna make he's gonna be able to make up for those mistakes too if he makes a mistake.
It's true.
4.26 is cheetah speed.
He has good chase speed.
Not saying this isn't me saying he's a bad player, doesn't deserve to get drafted where he does. But when you go 4.26, someone's gonna reach on him. Like he's gonna go higher than his projection. And good for him.
It already changed. I mean, he was early third, late 2, and now everybody thinks he's
late first.
Late first now. So
I heard late first for him.
Yeah.
So, hey, listen, good
for
him.
Can't teach speed.
That's correct.
Any other comments you guys want to make about the combine outside those ridiculous, like that Nolan Smith 4.39 from an edge rusher position? That's got Micah Parsons written all over. I'm not saying he's going to be Micah Parsons, but man, that's the last time we've seen a 4.39 from an edge.
I can't remember the young man's name, but whoever tore his ACL and then still finished the combine, I give that kid all the credit in the world.
From the offensive lineman
and
USC.
Went out and did the bench press and outbenched everybody at the combine. Yep. Kudos to that kid. I would draft him.
I will say this though, right? The backlash of offensive linemen should not run the 40 after that happened. It was absurd. And I just can't.
I'm not gonna lie to you. If you really think about it, how many times do you see offensive linemen full out sprint 40 yards on a football field? Like, it just really
I can make an argument.
Doesn't happen.
Jason Kelsey, Jordan Mailata, Lane Johnson.
I get it. They'll run downfield and block, but they don't need to be 5'2". They don't need to be 5'5" flat guys. Like, if they can block and
Says
they're
a
going to
lot if
run
you
out
can
there and
run
give
and not
effort.
trip over your own 2 feet.
Yeah.
I get
Nothing
it, but I don't
against
need to know how.
towards
I don't need to
ACL.
know how
He's
fast.
running a
I don't need to
straight
know.
line.
I don't need to know how fast you do it, though. Is my point.
It
He
does
tore his
matter.
ACL running a
Yeah.
straight line.
It's a freak thing, man. It has nothing to do with anything else. It's just
It.
I would
I'm not
honestly,
saying
I
it's
would,
not a. I'm not.
especially if I'm a running team, like like the Eagles, I want to, if you can't get downfield for the amount that we
Right.
run the ball and help block downfield for backs and my quarterback and everything like that, then you're not draftable in my system. You're
It's
not.
not about someone running a 5.1
No.
or 5.0. It's about someone not running a 6, bro. Like
Correct.
that's what I'm trying to.
No. I understand that, but I'm just saying that if I am let's say I'm a tackle. If I know I'm like a 5'2" guy, but you've seen my film and I'm a mauler out there, I'm not running the 40. And it's not
don't
about
have
fear of getting
to.
hurt. It's just that I don't have to prove it to anybody how fast
You
I
don't
am.
have to. Just like the combine, you don't have to throw. You don't have to.
Yeah. No, yeah, 100%. I mean, this kid was a third round projection.
And
So
he's trying to
I
make
get
himself,
why
and he ran and he
Yeah.
overran and he
Correct.
tore his ACL, and that sucks.
I
But let's not have this
100%
whole
understand it from his
conversation
point.
No, you don't. You understand that linemen shouldn't run the 40 because one guy tore his
If I'm a
ACL running a
top
straight
guy,
line.
I said if I'm a top guy, and I'm a offensive lineman,
Plenty of
I don't
people
need
skip
to-
the 40. It happens.
Correct.
You can skip if you want to.
So what's the difference? What's the difference with it being offensive lineman?
I no, it's not that. It's the point that, like, I don't think offensive linemen should have to run the 40. They don't. They don't. I can't
Agreed.
listen to silly shit. I just can't. I can't. They don't have to. But like,
I just said if I'm an O lineman, I wouldn't.
But they're talking about removing it. Like people are talking about removing it for offensive linemen.
No, that'd be crazy because you have some offensive linemen that are 295 and they're like, oh, I'm about to go out here and run a 4.88. So no, don't remove it. But I'm just saying if I'm a top guy, there's no shot that I'm running it.
We gotta talk about free agency. We gotta talk about a couple quarterbacks, a couple contracts that sign. What do you want to talk about first? Tweedledee, Tweedledum. Someone tag Jordan's ass.
I mean, we get. I mean, let's just get Derek Carr out of the way because that one's like at least makes sense.
Does it?
Does to me.
It's a lot of money.
What's the final number?
Not really.
Year.
Not really.
Less than Daniel Jones.
That's the going rate these days, though.
That's my point. Not really.
You got less than Daniel Jones.
New Orleans turn around and be like, damn, we got a deal.
Look, Derek Carr going to New Orleans is just me being full haterade. I never want them to be good. I hate the New Orleans Saints. I like Derek Carr. Now I have to dislike him. That's the truth.
I agree with you. I mean, I don't like the Saints for all the reasons you don't like them, but I think it's great for them because they're finally going to have stability at that position. We've already caught glimpses of what Olave is going to be. I don't know what's going to happen with Slant Boy. I think it obviously makes it.
He has to be on the roster.
Yeah, I know.
He's a $26 million cap hit.
Yeah, that's the
problem is though. It's either you take that or you could take 52 against the cap though. So maybe you just cut your losses.
52 against the cap. They can't sign Derek Carr.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's
$26 million they have to get under.
He's going to be on the roster next year. I mean, if they trade him, that's one thing. But
I'd give a second round pick. I'd give a second round draft pick to take the contract of Michael Thomas.
You'd probably get a taker on that. But if he stays, again, I mean, they're going to use Taysom Hill back kind of it as like, tight end type role. Alvin Kamara obviously gets better. And Olave's going to be his number one guy. And that offense looks a lot better than it did already last year already. So, again, I mean, I'm kind of like Gene. You won't find me saying a bad word about Derek Carr. I think he's a good quarterback that was underappreciated with the Raiders. I think he's a great human being, and I think he's gonna be a good leader. He's gonna be a good leader for that team. I think he makes them better.
I agree.
So can we talk about the albatross up in New York? Can we do it?
Yes.
So I mean, I'm gonna be I'm gonna be. I'm not gonna say devil's advocate because I think it's a bad contract, but you have to realize
But
that
what?
they 100% overpaid him. There's no doubt in my mind.
So it makes it
His
awful.
guarantee, his guaranteed money though is
81
pretty
million.
much all up front though. Like it's going to be over the first 2 years. So in reality, if they realize that this is
They can
a
get out.
bad experience, they can get out of it after 2 years. Like that's their only saving grace with it. And again, I don't agree with it. I think it's crazy to give Daniel Jones $40 million, but I think they handled it in a good way because I think in 2 years from now, you're gonna be like, damn, Daniel Jones got that $160 million contract, and now he's cut. Like I think they positioned it smart for themselves to get out of it in the future. That's my only saving grace for him.
Giving a
They
guy $81 million to lose 38-3 to the Eagles.
No.
and yet
I
you're
I
and
I, I
you're
hear you. I
and
hear
you're
you.
even though they could get out of it after two, you are literally now saying that man is your starting quarterback the next 2 years, no matter what happens. And I, and
They
I,
were
Correct.
I,
talking about
I
Tyrod Taylor taking his job last year.
yeah,
He
and now
declined his fifth-year option.
and on top of everything else, they were talking about it today. What does he look like next year if Saquon says I'm not playing on the tag?
They're working on a contract with Saquon now too.
I guess, but
I'm Saquon. I don't play on the tag. This is my only
hell no.
opportunity to get paid.
Correct. With his injury history, he's got one shot at a big payday. I'm not playing on that tag if I'm Saquon. There's no shot I'm stepping on the field if I'm Saquon Barkley on
They
that tag.
also signed him to the non-exclusive, so he'll have the same kind of leniency as like Lamar, where he can go shop around and see if someone will get him a contract. So I mean, I think New York's they're doing right by Saquon. It seems like.
I mean,
I want to talk about.
and in defense of Daniel Jones, if they don't get some goddamn wide receivers on that team, it doesn't matter anyway.
That is also true.
So I mean, they're gonna be
I
out of
don't.
money here somewhere.
I don't. I gotta. I can't wait to talk about this. I'm speeding through the two just to get to Lamar. I actually think the Ravens did the 100% best thing they could have did by signing him to the non-exclusive franchise tag.
Agreed.
Ed Lamar, show me you're worth $50 million guaranteed a year. And if some idiot team is going to give us 2 first-round picks for the right to overpay you, by all means. They're probably a poverty franchise anyway, and I'm probably going to get a top 15 pick for it. 2 first-round draft picks to pay Lamar Jackson $50 million? Are you out of your friggin' mind?
But I don't think it'll necessarily be $50 million a year. I know
Jones got 40.
I know that keeps being the number that we float out, but Daniel Jones only got $80 million guaranteed. I
Turned
feel
down
like
48.
who turned down 48?
Lamar.
Yeah, that's because they were only talking about giving them 130 guaranteed.
It's $50 million more than Daniel Jones got.
Yeah, and that's like
Only
50 million. It's like,
$131 million guaranteed.
and that's
Just
like
because
50.
Deshaun Watson got a bullshit
No.
contract.
And Kyler Murray and your boy Kyler, and he's got an
Okay.
MVP and playoff wins, and he's lost 16 regular season games. Like only quarterback that's lost less games than him since he's been in the league has been Patrick Mahomes. So that's something you got to keep in perspective. I agree, though, the Ravens definitely did the right thing. But Lamar, if a team wants to go out and pay Lamar, 200 million guaranteed, it won't be 50 million a season. I think it'll be probably around the 45 area, which is, it seems like the going rate for quarterbacks. I don't think that's too crazy, especially if you want to build around him. He's gonna win you games because when he plays, the team wins, and that just is what it is. Hopefully, he just goes to a competent franchise that actually puts some weapons around him.
But that's the problem. Again, this gets back to Gene's point. If you're going somewhere where they're willing to do that, you're probably not going to a situation that is like ideal for at least the first 2 years. And they just gave up 2 firsts to get you, so you're probably not have a first round draft pick in your next 2 drafts. There is value, and I think Baltimore realized that there is value in that he's on a very good football team right now. Like I mean, there's teams out there. I mean, obviously there's going to be less teams after the draft because we all know who's taking quarterbacks now.
Charles had a comment about, I hope he goes to a more competent team that will put wide receivers around him. So I want to ask Cottrell a question. Did you think before the draft, and I'm asking for honesty. Did you think before the draft that Hollywood Brown was a bust, a bad receiver?
I didn't think he would be a bust. No.
Okay. So you think he was a competent receiver?
Yeah. But you
did you think before the draft that Rashad Bateman would be a bust or a bad receiver?
I didn't think he was a
top
first
5.
round pick.
You had him top 5.
I did not have him top 5.
Yes, you did.
I 100% didn't. Check the tape.
Okay.
100% did not. 1,000% did not have Bateman in my top 5. I said he had catch issues coming out of Minnesota.
Okay.
Check the tape.
Rashad Bateman is a first-round wide receiver. Hollywood Brown was a first-round wide receiver.
Bro, I understand it. You take receivers in the first round. It doesn't mean that they hit.
It means the quarterback can't throw him the football. Outside the numbers. Look at his numbers outside the numbers, Cottrell. Look at his numbers.
How did he look with Tyler? How did he look with Huntley? Huntley went to the Pro Bowl. That's I forgot. You know, Huntley had those guys looking great. I forgot.
Don't use Tyler Huntley's Pro Bowl appearances.
Huntley stinks.
Okay, Gene, let's rank Hollywood Brown and Devin Duvernay and Rashad Bateman. Like, where do they rank on the list of trios in the NFL? Let's be honest here.
Okay, I would say they're probably top 15.
Let me do some math here.
I mean, I would say if Lamar, let's say, goes
Hollywood and Bateman with Duvernay, I'd say top 15.
I guess not Mark Andrews either.
Yeah, Mark Andrews is there too.
I understand the Mark Andrews things, but you don't have a receiver that's in the top 20. You don't have a number 1 receiver in the top 20.
That's fair.
That's all I'm saying.
But can I ask you a question real quick? Did Hollywood Brown look like a top 20 wide receiver the first 6 weeks he played in Arizona? The answer is yes.
Correct. And then how did he look the rest of the season after DeAndre Hopkins came back? And then he came back, and how did he look?
He got hurt.
And then he came back, and how did he look?
They didn't have Kyler Murray anymore.
If you say so.
No, Kyler tore his ACL week 12. Hollywood Brown came back week 14.
My point being, we talked about. You see how Josh Allen improved after he got Stephon Diggs. What was Josh Allen's numbers before he got Diggs? Terrible. What were they after?
Terrible.
Like let's be real here. If you get a number one receiver, it's going to change the quarterback's dynamics. And he won an MVP without a true number 1 receiver. I get it. They're trying. I'm not saying that it's not from a lack of effort, but what do good teams do? They go out and get them a number 1 guy. What did Arizona do? They said, hey, we have a young quarterback. We're going to try and get him a proven, established number 1 receiver in DeAndre Hopkins. What did the Bills do? They went out and got Stephon Diggs. What did the Browns do? They went out and got Amari Cooper. I'm just saying, teams that have these established quarterbacks, they want to try and get true number 1 weapons.
And you're considering Amari Cooper a number 1 weapon?
I mean, he put up 1,100 yards in. Oh my goodness, here we go. I get it. He was a Cowboy, but let's be real here. Come on.
Look, I just think that Lamar Jackson makes receivers' numbers look worse. And I think if there's a more prolific quarterback that can throw them the football, their numbers would look better.
Like who?
Like Aaron Rodgers.
Okay, so one of the best quarterbacks in the league. Okay, so 105. Derek Carr just had Devontae Adams, Hunter Renfrow, and Darren Waller. And what were his numbers?
Before Devontae Adams, he still played well with Hunter Renfrow and Darren Waller.
With those guys, does Derek Carr have an MVP? Does Derek Carr have an MVP? That's my point. That's what I'm saying. So no, if Lamar Jackson was over there with the Raiders, his numbers would look incredible as well.
1,000 yards.
But he threw the ball as well. He threw the ball as well. When you throw for over 3,000 yards and you can rush for over 1,000, that's what happens. I'm saying, guess what Lamar Jackson would do if he was throwing the ball to Darren Waller and Devontae Adams and Hunter Renfrow? He'd be an MVP again. I tell you that.
I don't think so. I think he'd get hurt week 12 and not come back because his toes hurt. Because he's got a boo-boo on his foot.
Not if he has some guaranteed money that he's earned.
First of all, I agree he's earned money. I think the contract that Baltimore offered him at the beginning of the season was fair.
$133 million is not fair when Kyler Murray got 170.
Listen, it's comparing two wrong things and trying to make it right.
The market is the market, and it shouldn't change now because we're talking about Lamar Jackson.
It doesn't change because it's Lamar Jackson. But again, this is the point I'm making. Does Lamar Jackson want to go be in Kyler Murray's situation with a team that has holes everywhere, or does he want to stay on a good football team that's contending for the playoffs? Lamar Jackson can go to Arizona. Arizona is not a playoff team with Lamar Jackson. That team and that's not because of Lamar Jackson. That team stinks. It has holes everywhere. It has terrible coaching up until this year. Lamar Jackson's on the team that perennial is contending, if they're healthy, to make deep runs in playoffs. There's value in that, and Baltimore knows that, and that's part of it. I do agree with Gene on that. Like, you can't go, oh, well, that team over there who's poorly freaking run gave this guy $200 million, and that team over there that made a horrible decision that went all in on a guy who, like, pulls his dick out with masseuses. They gave him $250, so now we have to do that. Baltimore,
but it's not even just those two. Dak as well. Russell Wilson. Like, the market is the market. Why would I take less money when I know what the market is?
What has Dallas done with Dak Prescott? It's another perfect example. I'm actually making this argument to support Lamar Jackson. He has more value with Baltimore than he does somewhere else. Dallas hasn't done shit with Dak. Kyler Murray's done nothing. Deshaun Watson has done nothing.
Russell Wilson's done nothing in Denver. It's like this, Cottrell, and this is my only point I'm making. I get that,
and I like Lamar. I like Lamar. I like Lamar way more than Gene does, and I'm not trashing him. I'm not saying you don't like him. I'm just higher than you.
Numbers. He can't.
All I'm saying is Lamar Jackson has a ton of value by himself, but he also has value with Baltimore. Baltimore knows that, and Baltimore knows they have value with the team they're putting around him. And then they're going to contend. If you want to go to a team where you're going to get your head kicked in for 2 years, that's what Baltimore's saying. You want to go get your $45 million, cool, go get it. You're going to an awful team probably.
That's
the point. That's all I'm saying.
If I said open a door, right? And when you open the door, you fell down a flight of stairs. And then another guy opened the door and he fell down a flight of stairs. And then another guy opened the door and he fell down a flight of stairs. Just because everyone's falling down a flight of stairs don't mean I got to open the door and fall down a flight of stairs. The Baltimore Ravens are a good franchise. They've been a good franchise for the last 23 years. That's why they have 2 Super Bowls. They're watching poverty franchises make mistakes with quarterbacks over and over and over again. Like, look, Lamar, we want to pay you. We love you. Here's $250 million with 121 guaranteed. Come play for us. And because Kyler Murray got a ridiculously stupid contract in Arizona, and Russell Wilson got a bad contract in Denver, and Deshaun Watson got a bad contract in Cleveland, Baltimore's like, I don't want to make that mistake. I want to be relevant. I want to compete. They're trying to make it work with him. Now they're saying, go ahead, Lamar. Go find out your value.
That's a whole nother thing too. The collusion behind that is insanity.
Speak on it.
I mean, you have teams who have been like, you have teams like the Panthers last year that were, and the Falcons too, that were deep in the Deshaun Watson sweepstakes. But before even, and they still don't have a quarterback now. Like I know that Atlanta drafted Ritter and Carolina drafted Matt Corral, but they don't have guys who are going to be their bona fide starter next year. And the moment that the Ravens basically say, hey, Lamar, like, if you want to shop around, like, go ahead, they don't even sit down for an interview with them. Like, that just seems crazy to me. Like, how do you know for sure that a 25-year-old guy that's an MVP, you know for a fact that you don't even want to talk to him? That doesn't sound crazy. That sounds crazy to me.
But you just answered your own question. Why did Atlanta back out of Deshaun at the very end?
Because he did not want to go there. That's why.
No, because Cleveland fully guaranteed every goddamn dollar on that contract, and they didn't want to do that. They didn't want to give Deshaun Watson $250 million guaranteed.
Okay,
they said
so
it.
If that's the case,
they came out and offered.
No. I'm just saying, if that's the case, What did Atlanta do? They sat down and they talked with Deshaun Watson. How does Atlanta already know the number that Lamar Jackson wants to go after right now?
Because
Because they saw it in the media. Go ahead, G.
They already know what he turned down.
So it's not bad enough to have to give him $47-48 million a year to be your quarterback. On the non-exclusive franchise tag, you have to give up 2 first-rounders. 2 to have the right to overpay the quarterback. It's absurd. For anybody claiming it's definitely collusion.
Deshaun Watson didn't play for a season, and what Cleveland also, they gave up 3 first-rounders. So it's not like they didn't care about these first-rounders. They knew what the capital was last year for a quarterback that didn't play in over a year. I'm saying, why not have the conversation? That's my point.
The team has done that. They've gotten the door slammed in their face. Show me an opportunity where it's worked.
I'm not saying that's not the point. I'm saying, why not have the conversation? That is my point.
Because that is the point. That's what Gene's trying to say. That's what I'm trying to say.
Okay, so the shit just didn't work in the past. It didn't work in the past. So let's not just try it. Let's not try it out. It didn't work in the past. Let's not do it.
For them, if it's their decision control, it's not collusion. If Atlanta goes, I'd rather pay somebody else or try to get another quarterback versus, hey, we're going to go get Lamar Jackson. And then on top of that, now I got to pay him $50 million, 45, whatever it is a year. I probably have to cut more people to get down to that number. And then on top of that, I don't have a number 1 for 2024, and I don't have a number 1 for 2025. Are we a better team 3 years from now than we are right now if we get a different quarterback? That's what they're weighing. And he got tagged a couple of days ago. Who knows what's going to happen in the next couple of days? Somebody probably will sit down to him. But you can't say a team not willing to leverage at least 2 ones and pay $50 million a year towards a cap, fully guaranteed for the next 5 or 6 years, isn't at least sitting down and weighing that and having conversations about it. That doesn't mean they don't like Lamar or don't value him. They just don't think he's worth that in what they're trying to build.
There's one situation I can point to where a team overpaid to trade for a quarterback and it worked out for him. And that team is now going to be in hell for the next 5 years. They got a Super Bowl out of it. The LA Rams, they overpaid and traded for Matthew Stafford and it worked out and they got a Super Bowl. You have to find a team that thinks they're a quarterback away, that can build a system around Lamar Jackson within a year and thinks that they can win the Super Bowl now, because you're mortgaging your future for a quarterback that hasn't finished the season the last 2 years, and you're paying $48 million a year to do it. Control, I know you love Lamar Jackson, but the collusion conversation, I just can't get on board with it. I can't.
I just don't know how you already know without having a conversation with the man. Just because you saw the reports about him turning down $120 million, $130 million guaranteed money. I just don't know how you don't at least have the conversation with him. Hey, if we say we want to put this around you, would you be willing to take a number close to that?
Bro.
That's my
point. That's my point. It happened 2 days. How are all these teams already knowing that they're out on Lamar Jackson? It happened 2 days ago.
Reporters that said they likely are out. That don't expect
best
them.
Reporters in the game, Schefter, Rappaport,
there could be teams that have people that are on vacation all over the place. They might not even have the conversation. Like I said, you could have teams that could be like, yeah, we might be in on this. It happened 48 hours ago. They might still have to get everybody in the same spot and have the conversations. But here's my question. Outside Baltimore, we're removing because that's where he is now. We're all assuming Indy, Carolina, Houston, and one other team in the top 10 are all taking quarterbacks. We're all agreeing on that. We can all agree on that. Yeah. What teams realistically are left that would be in on that would be say he already knows this that would be in on Lamar Jackson?
There's 2 of them.
I mean, I could name you teams that would make sense. I could name you teams that would make sense.
Go ahead.
Vegas would make sense. Miami would make sense. Obviously, Washington will make sense. Atlanta to me doesn't even make sense though. Atlanta's more than a quarterback away, so I understand them not wanting to be in, but to me, in my mind, it doesn't make sense because of how hard they went last year for Deshaun Watson.
Desmond Ridder stinks. So for Atlanta, it makes sense because they have Kyle Pitts and then they have Drake London and they can add Lamar Jackson and they can add a cornerback in free agency and they have money. For Washington, it makes more sense The Commanders shedded a ton of cap last year. They got Carson Wentz's numbers off the books. They can go all in. They have Terry McLaurin. They got Jahan Dotson. They got Curtis Samuel. They got Robinson in the backfield. They can put money into Lamar in an offensive line, and they can rebuild that defense. He can go play with Eric Bieniemy. I actually think that makes logical sense. There's no issue there. But Washington is the only one that I could see making that push. Miami doesn't have a first-round pick, as Kyle just stated.
I'm sure Miami could find a way for some compensation.
Well, they have to wait till after the draft is over to be able to do it, because it's the next 2 first-round draft picks. That's how that works. So they have to wait. They can't interview them until after the draft.
That's not true.
Well, they can interview them.
They be correct? Correct. But if they talk to him and Lamar's like, "Hey, this is where I want to go. This is what they got on the table. Are you going to match it, or are you not going to match it?" Like those are conversations that they can have.
Waiting for a month and a half. Their whole offseason is hijacked because Lamar Jackson wouldn't accept $130 million.
They're going to have to wait anyway, because if I'm Lamar, why not just wait to negotiate now?
You're right. You're right.
Through the draft,
listen, Lamar deserves to get paid 100%. I think he deserves to be. I just don't think that teams should have to make the same mistake other teams made just because they made the mistake.
I'm just saying, we never have this conversation when the market is reset by other. Christian Kirk just reset the market. We talked about it last year. It was a bad decision, and it somewhat worked out for him. I get it. It's different with receivers because the money's less, but the market gets reset literally all the time. Kyler Murray didn't deserve the money that he got, but it happened. Russell Wilson, we didn't think that he deserved the money that he got at the time, and then it proved to be the case because, he just didn't play well. I'm just saying, you have a young quarterback who's won an MVP already, who wins a lot of football games when he's on the field. The conversation just should be had.
I hear that. And maybe in a week or two, we're talking about a different conversation when more stuff comes out. But I can't 48 hours just assume collusion. I just can't.
Only reason
that will call that shit out if it happens.
Only reason why I'm saying that, though, is because of the reports already coming out from the top guys like Field and Adam and Ian about saying that these teams are out already. That's all I'm saying. How can you be out on something that you have no clue about?
If they value their picks and their team already, then it's some of the decisions are easy.
I get that, but again, these are teams that were in on Deshaun Watson last year, knowing what they would have to give up, and the compensation was more for Deshaun.
And then maybe they watched how the Deshaun thing played out, and they go, you know what? Maybe we dodged a bullet there. Maybe we dodged a bullet, and we don't want to look like Arizona for that. Why? How can you say that? You're not running the team.
Deshaun played 6 games last year,
and he looked like ass. Cottrell, let's be honest, he looked terrible.
But I guarantee you, every single team, they knew going into it that was going to be the case. If Deshaun Watson would have landed in Atlanta or Carolina, they expected him to get suspended.
He would have looked that bad. He looked awful.
He played 6 games last year,
and he didn't look any better in Game 6 than he did Game 1.
My point is, everybody knew, every party involved knew going in, he was going to come back, he was going to look rusty, and they knew he was going to miss a sizable amount of the season, whether it be 6 games or whether it be the whole season or 10 games or ultimately the 11 that he missed. They knew that was going to be the case, and they said, hey, we're still willing to give up 3 firsts and 3 seconds to do so. Every party that interviewed him had the same mindset on it.
Yeah, until it got to the guaranteed money, which is what we're going to run into with Lamar, which he already said he wants. So again, you're asking a team to fully guarantee a $200+ million contract and give up at least 2 ones. Like that, again, that's a lot to balk at, dude. It's a lot.
Jordan, I'm gonna clown you for a minute. The Browns have been relevant since the day they drafted Baker Mayfield. They weren't relevant before Baker Mayfield, but they were relevant since the day they drafted Baker Mayfield.
Yeah, dude. I mean,
they almost got a really bad buzz.
Yeah, but they must beat Kansas City in the playoffs. Like, you can't say they're not relevant. That's just not accurate.
The Browns, to say this, when the Browns have won just as many playoff games over the last 5 years as your Ravens have, is hilarious. Let me take it a step further, Jordan. The Browns were 4-44 the previous 48 games before Baker Mayfield got drafted. They seen what a quarterback can do to a franchise. And they wanted a better one. I understand that. I will say this. I think the Lamar situation will happen. I think it will. He'll get paid. I just think that I don't think it's going to be with Baltimore. I think there's going to be a team that comes in and overpays them. And I think they'll fall on their face again. And if, the NFL copycat league doesn't tell you anything, they're going to copycat the quarterback market set. And everyone keeps overpaying. And there's a lot of intelligent people that are overpaying for quarterbacks, doing really, really silly things. And now another group of really intelligent people are going to overpay for another quarterback. Dak got overpaid. It hasn't worked out. Russell Wilson got overpaid. It hasn't worked out. Kyler Murray got overpaid. It hasn't worked out. I call it what it is.
It's been 1 year for these guys, though. Like the Kyler thing, like who knows what'll happen now? Like he has a new coach, and I get he just tore his ACL, but you can't just say it hasn't worked. It's been 1 year for him, and he missed the back half of it.
No, but it goes
if they were
back.
re-signing these quarterbacks today, how much would they be worth? If Russell Wilson got cut tomorrow, what do you think he's getting next year?
Oh, I mean, I the problem is though, the problem is
it's like buying cryptocurrency at $1.
Russell Wilson
34 cents.
But Russell Wilson with Sean Payton might look like a completely different person.
And I think that
I get it. He's not going to, and it's still not going to be worth the money. Like that part, I agree with you. But I'm just saying you can't say it hasn't worked out yet because of one season. Because a lot of these guys who did get overpaid, they're walking in with new head coaches this upcoming season.
But
all you're saying is overpaying a quarterback gets your head coach fired.
Well, Nathaniel Hackett shouldn't have been hired in the first place.
I agree with that.
You hate Cliff Kingsbury, and he shouldn't have been there.
Okay.
So
offense coordinator in Dallas, it's gone.
Yeah, OC and we talked about McCarthy. We didn't like McCarthy anyway, so he's probably going to be gone after next year.
So overpaying a quarterback gets your coach fired.
If you don't have the right head coach in place, yeah.
Okay.
Would you say Josh Allen got overpaid? I mean, he got more guaranteed than these guys.
Well, no, he's been in the MVP conversation the last 2 years. He's been in the playoffs, and he played one of the most prolific playoff games you'll ever watch in your life.
I mean,
I think that goes back.
He's won 2 playoff games in his 5 years.
I think that goes back even more to like the Lamar thing. Like, you wouldn't tell me Lamar's worth $40 million. Like, I'll at least listen to that argument. Like, but when you give Kyler 50, and like you said, he's not an MVP. He's been nothing but a disappointment since he's been in the league. Russell Wilson is way too old for his contract. Is he going to look better next year? Yeah, he is. He's going to because of Sean Payton. But I don't know, man. I think he ends up in Baltimore. So, I mean, I've said that from the get-go. I think they figure it out, and it is what it is. I think both sides are going to compromise a little bit, and I think he's going to stay in Baltimore. I really don't think he's going to leave because I just don't know if anybody's going to be willing to part with all that to get him.
The part that I absolutely hate that just doesn't make sense to me is that Baltimore and Lamar, they flip-flopped all over the place. Like Lamar was saying that he wants to be in Baltimore and all this. The playoffs are approaching. Harbaugh is like, I don't know. I don't know what's going on with Lamar. Like, you got to talk to Lamar about that. Then the offseason, they part ways with Greg Roman, and they're like, yeah, Lamar's going to be in on us figuring out who our OC is going to be. And then it's like, all right, Lamar, we want you to just go test the waters and figure out what you're worth on the market. So I'm just confused by all parties involved here, honestly.
Well, they said those things, and then obviously behind the scenes, they're offering him contracts, Kachal, and if he's turning them down, then at that point, if you have a guy that seems that discontent or maybe not be part of the future, you're obviously not going to bring him in to start, helping out with your OC search at that point. You don't know if the guy's going to be here.
This has been a great conversation. Good.
I was going to say, I 100% understand that, but I guess my thing is, going in before the year, you offer him $130 million guaranteed. If you come back to the table, 2 weeks ago from today, or whenever they were on their OC search, and you're at like $135 million guaranteed or whatever, like, you guys aren't in the same ballpark. So at this point, I'm not even going to think about putting you in the conversation of looking for our next OC, because I'm thinking about life after you. That's all I'm saying.
Can I tell you something else Lamar needs to do? And this is not and
Hire an
saying
agent.
yes, and it's not saying
No, the
anything
fuck he
about
doesn't.
bro. It
Roquan Smith just got $100 million from the Ravens
Different
organization,
position.
and he represented
It's
himself.
a
Different
different
position.
position. It's different everything. I'm saying this. This is probably his one big shot to really get the money that he wants to get. This is a life altering decision. Maybe not hire one full time, but at least hire one like as a consult kind of thing and like run shit by him, like stuff like that. Like I think doing this on his own, again, I think it's a little bit of a mistake. Like you pay those agents to have certain discussions and go into those meetings and say certain things that him being a player slash his own agent is tough for him to do.
Yep.
There's just
They can't have a direct conversation with you without
correct,
offending you.
correct,
And
and that is
his mom's being his agent for most of it.
it's I just think it would, I don't know. And I look at it too, and somebody else brought up another good point, and I get the risk in it, but if they're offering you five at 250 and 130 of it's guaranteed, he's how old is he? 25, 26?
Yep.
They're not cutting him in 3 years. They're not. Like he's going to be on the team. He's going to play the contract out. He's going to get every money, every penny of that damn contract anyway. It's just silly to me.
All right. Well, it's been a good conversation. We're a little past time. Let's get into You Gotta Be Kidding Me, gentlemen.
All right. So my You Gotta Be Kidding Me this week came in Cleveland. We had a great regular season matchup between the Celtics and the Cavaliers.
Oh, too funny.
Gets down late in the game. There is less than a second left on the clock. Grant Williams is at the line with the score tied 109-109, and he has a chance to put the game on ice. He gets to the free throw line. He looks Donovan Mitchell in his eyes, and he says, I'm going to make both of these. I want to make both of them. Misses the first one, misses the second one. The game goes into OT, and the Cavs come out victorious. Grant Williams, I love the confidence that you have in yourself, but if you can't back it up, you just can't do it. Don't write a check that your ass can't cash. So for me this week, Grant Williams.
Come on, you gotta be kidding me.
Yeah, I definitely want your PGA winners at the end. So don't forget that. Let's knock out You Gotta Be Kidding Me, and then you can throw out your PGA winners, please.
I'm going to skip my You Gotta Be Kidding Me because it's too long-winded for tonight, and I can do it next week. It's not going to change, so I'll do mine next week.
You want to give your PGA winners now then?
I'll do it when you're done.
Okay. So my You Gotta Be Kidding Me is Matthew Mayer of the Illini in Illinois. Said he's been sick the past few days with caffeine poisoning. He drank 5 Monster energy drinks while playing video games on Sunday after they played Ohio State, and today is his first day back at practice. So Matthew Mayer, who drank 5 Monster energy drinks and was in potential of missing the Big Ten tournament for the Illinois Illini.
Come on, you gotta be kidding me.
Go ahead, brother.
So I'm just going to give you 2 guys I think can win. I have 2 long shots. One's a little bit longer than the other, but I think Rory almost won last week. He's close. He's won here before. TPC Sawgrass is a very, very tough course. There's a lot of top players in the world that do not play well on it. It's a Pete Dye masterpiece. Obviously, everybody knows about the 17th Highland Green. Great tournament to watch, even if you're a casual golf fan, like Gene. Lot of
shots.
A lot of suspense.
I'm telling you, I already know who's going to win the tournament. Why I gotta watch it?
A lot of suspense on Sunday, always with the closing holes. A lot of fun to watch. So Rory's my one pick, and then I got I think Victor Hovland might get off the this is considered the 5th major, even though it's not a real one, but it's one of the best fields of the year, and I think Victor Hovland might finally put one in the win column. My 2 long shots are Will Zalatoris, which is at plus 3,000. And I got another guy, Kevin Mitchell, plus 5,500. Been playing really well. Hits the ball far, and he's very, very accurate with his drives, which is a very, very big component of playing well at Sawgrass. So those are my 4 picks. Sprinkle some money on them, put them in a parlay, do whatever you want to do. But that's what I think is going to win this weekend.
I'm going to tell you who's going to win. It's going to be Max Hama. He's going to win the tournament. And then after Max Hama, second place, you can put money on Jason Day finishing in the top 10. And then last but not least, my long shot has a chance to win. I don't think he will, but I think he'll finish in the top 10. He'll be there for the entire tournament. Is Keegan Bradley. You're welcome.
Max Homa.
Homa. Like Cottrell's a Homa.
Homa Simpson.
I'm just kidding. Cottrell, we love you. I'm sorry that me and Bill felt like we're on the same our opposite side of that this week. I just been very consistent with my Lamar energy, and I knew this was headed this way. It just frustrates me.
We'll all see too, like once it all plays out, like where the cards fall. But
I think the biggest thing that bothered me was the fact that he sat out the end of last year. I think it frustrates me so much because like there's reports from inside the team that he could have played. I don't know. That frustrates me, man.
I just hope he stays in Baltimore. I think that's his.
I don't.
Where do you
Get
want
him
him to
out
go?
of the AFC North? Out of the AFC North?
Well, you're saying it for selfish reasons. I think he's a Raven. I mean, I think it's part of who he is, and I think he's a guy that, again, I mean, they've shown they believed in him and they want to build around him. And I think cooler heads will prevail down the stretch, and I think he ends up in Baltimore.
By the way, Villanova is up 30 over Georgetown.
Yeah, they're killing him.
All right, gentlemen, episode 126. Any final thoughts?
No, I mean, listen, we'll miss you next week, big guy. Enjoy your cruise. Don't go overboard.
Oh yeah.
Make sure if you do, make sure you wear a life jacket.
You got to give us your fill out a bracket before.
100%. You running that bracket though? Who's running that bracket?
Yeah.
You two gonna run that bracket?
I'll set it up.
Figure it out. Yeah. Get it all running before that Thursday game starts. So
yeah, I'll fill a bracket out. I'll bring my laptop. There's a slight possibility I'll be able to do the show, but I doubt it. I'll be on the ship Wednesday. We're at sea, so I doubt that we're going to be. There's not going to be an opportunity for me to do the show Wednesday night. It could be pre-recorded if you guys want it, but I'd rather you two just do the show. I know you can. If you guys want to invite a guest on, we'll talk about that. But obviously, Cottrell knows how to run the ones and twos. There's no issue there. Just we'll download the episode and we'll upload it to Libsyn so everybody can listen to it until Thursday morning. That's why I'll bring my laptop with me. But any final thoughts, Shally?
No, this is getting into a couple great weeks of sports. You got all the conference tournaments this week. You got the players this weekend. Next week the tournament starts. It's one of the most fun 4-day stretches of basketball that you can have, and then got one of my favorite weekends of the year right around the corner. You got the Masters coming, so.
And the NFL draft's not far behind it.
NFL draft, I believe, is the following week. So we're it'll be
in our list
in the high gear.
We'll have opening day, and before you know it, we'll be back to football. So
Cottrell, any final thoughts?
Nothing for me this week.
I appreciate everybody tuning in. Appreciate especially you guys tuning in late. We were that debate got spirited. The viewers kept following, so I appreciate that. Appreciate everybody tuning in this week. This is Wire2Wire Sports Podcast, episode 126. We are signing out.